It is on. It's on.
No, I don't think yours is.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Testing. Testing.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
Now you can. They can.
Thank you. I call to order the February 5th, 2020 business meeting of the Cincinnati Board of Education. We welcome everyone and request everyone in the audience to please silence your cell phones and electronic devices. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Present.
Ms. Bolton?
Present.
Mrs. Bowers?
Present.
Mr. Lindy?
Here.
Mr. Messer?
Present.
Mr. Morosky?
Here.
President Jones?
Here. Thank you. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting January 22nd, 2020, business meeting January 22nd, 2020, and business meeting January 27th, 2020.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Does anyone have any kudos? If no one,
Yeah.
I have, okay, Mr.
I
Lindy.
do, but it's going to take me a second to pull it up. Would you mind
Okay,
going first?
I'll go ahead and give mine. Well, first of all, we're glad to be at Kilgore. We're always happy to be where our kids, where our students are, and where our community is. So thank you for having us. I do want to give a shout out and kudos to the CPS elementary jazz band. Once again, they performed at the Church of Our Savior on Saturday. It was phenomenal. But I have fallen in love. I just love all the student talent that we have, and clearly there is definite support. So kudos to the CPS Jazz Elementary Jazz Group, who will be performing at Eastern Kentucky University this weekend. So congratulations to them. Any other kudos? Mr. Lindy.
Thank you, President Jones. I asked Superintendent Mitchell this week if there was anybody on the administrative team at Cincinnati Public who deserved some special recognition this week, and I'd like to read what she sent. She said she wanted to recognize the wonderful work that Shauna Murphy has done, specifically related to assisting our graduating seniors into one of the 3 E's: enroll, enlist, and employ. Shauna and her team have realigned the work of counselors and partners to support students as they prepare for post-graduation options. They are collecting data for each pathway by school to ensure all students have an active plan for life beyond CPS. And I wanted to extend our congratulations to Shauna and say thank you.
Great job, Ms. Murphy. Mr. Messer.
Yes, I had the opportunity to attend the Future of the Arts Gala with a couple of my fellow board members and CPS staff members. And if you don't know about that event, it is a fundraiser that is done to help fund some of the programming at SCPA. But the way they structure it is they highlight SCPA students, some of our Cincinnati Public School students, right next to the professionals that are within the various arts organizations in our city. And I was at a table with some guests, and she said, now wait a minute, which one's the student? During one of the first performances, and I think it speaks to the quality and to the talent that we have right here at Cincinnati Public Schools, and that opened up a dialogue to talk about more of the greater story that we have at CPS with arts as a whole. And I think it really was a moment where people were just shocked that had not been to that event before, that our students were able to perform with members of the Cincinnati Opera Performance Company, or with members of the ballet here in Cincinnati or with members of the CSO. So kudos to all those students who represented us all very well.
Thank you, Mr. Messer. Ms. Bates.
Yes, and I'd like to give kudos to the Cincinnati Public Schools Suzuki program, who performed the national anthem on Saturday night at the Cincinnati Cyclones game. And they brought them good luck because the Cyclones won in overtime.
Thank you. Any other kudos? Okay, Ms. Bates, do we have any retirements?
Yes, I have one retirement. This is one of our professionals that worked in our civil service area, and her name is Kathy Sidibe. She was a lunchroom manager, and she's retiring March the 1st. So we congratulate her on this new time in her life and thank her for her service to our children.
Thank you, Ms. Bates. Okay, we are now at the item at our agenda for hearing the public. Each speaker has 3 minutes to speak, and Mrs. Wagner, our treasurer, will be our timekeeper. When the buzzer goes off, your 3 minutes are up. Please refrain from discussing any personnel items. When your name is called, please come to the front podium to speak. And we have 3 speakers, and I'll just call all 3, and you can just come in sequence. Thank you. Laurel Garrison, Marlena Brookfield, and Bob Ursom. Ms. Garrison?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Laurel Garrison, and I'm here as a Kilgore mom to discuss the issue of school nurses. 73% of schools in CPS have school nurses and/or a school-based health center. But Kilgore is one of 13 schools with only a health assistant, who is a high school educated parapro with no healthcare background. She can check for a fever and call a parent, but she can't assess whether a bone is broken or whether or not a bump on a head might be a concussion, and she can't provide skilled nursing care for children with chronic health conditions. My 5-year-old daughter is in kindergarten at Kilgore, and she has type 1 diabetes. Currently, my daughter's teachers manage her diabetes at school because there is no school nurse. The problem is that the district has decided that not all schools get a school nurse. Apparently, because Kilgore is located in an affluent area, all of us must have perfectly healthy children, but this assumption is wrong. There are other children at this school with nursing needs. In fact, the number of children with chronic health conditions is growing across the country. I want to show you something. This is a lockbox that my child's kindergarten teacher keeps in her room with all the medications that she dispenses on a daily basis. These are the diabetes supplies that go everywhere with my daughter around school. So you can see that there's a large burden on the teachers without a school nurse. So you've spent a lot of time recently talking about how to get the most funding possible from our property taxes. Mount Lookout is the second most expensive neighborhood in the entire state of Ohio and the most expensive in Cincinnati, with a median home value of over $460,000. And we are funding with our property taxes Cincinnati Public Schools, which is great, but we're not receiving equitable resources from the district. Other schools in low-income areas of Cincinnati have school nurses, and I'm glad they do. But we need a school nurse too. All kids do, because they all deserve to be healthy and safe at school. So I'm requesting that this issue be assigned to the Health and Safety Subcommittee for discussion and appropriate action. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm glad I'm following that. Marlena Brookfield, I know you, but I wanted to kind of follow on that, but specifically about district-wide. There was a lot of talk last year about where does the district need to expand? Where do we need to grow? And saying, well, we're done expanding here. We're done expanding here. We are not done expanding anywhere in the district. If we have schools that still do not have fully licensed healthcare professionals to take care of our children, we're not done expanding anywhere. I don't know what it's going to take, but I know some parents from our LSDMCs and our different school communities are starting to show up. I love to see that. I want to see more. I don't know if one of them here tonight is going to speak, but I would love to see the night when every single one of our schools has an LSDMC rep that's signed up to speak to say, look, this is what we really need. Y'all need to hear from us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bob Airsom. Our children have attended, all three of our children have attended this school and been attending schools in the district for quite some time. They're just wrapping up and have wrapped up. This school is very important. We just live a block away from here. We've been involved, my wife and I have been involved with the district and in this school and the other schools quite a bit. I just want to briefly mention the issue when it comes to equity and growth. One issue relates to what's called, quote, the Walnuts High School test. There was a big consternation recently. Most of the kids from this particular school go into Walnut Hills High School. The last exam, there was a big drop-off on passing rates with the movement to the Iowa test. Don't know why that happened, but it causes a lot of concern from a lot of kids. And I would say additionally, kids here and from the district should come first, and there should not be one child at Walnut Hills who is from out of district when we have this demand within the district for Walnut Hills and the other high priority schools, including like SCPA, where there are tons of out of district kids going there. And we just need to put that priority first, but you need to address this issue about the test. There's no reason that there should only be a 40 or 50% pass rate, which has never happened here before on the Walnut Hills test. Thank you.
Thank you. Typically, we do not respond directly to the hearing of the public, but I think this is an opportunity because we are having this meeting at a school site, especially for our first speaker, who I believe I've talked to. And she did check that she would like a written response, and so I will make sure that you get a response that you can talk to someone. And you had mentioned about the Health and Safety Committee as well, so we'll make sure we follow up with you on that. Okay, thank you. Superintendent, would you please introduce our first presentation?
Gladly. So our first, we would like to be able to call up the principal of Kilgore School. First of all, we want to thank not only the principal, but the entire school community for welcoming us to this building. And I believe she has some students with her, so this should be a special treat.
Yes. Thank you, Superintendent Mitchell. So first, let me say, for those of you that do not know me, I'm Angela Cook Frazier. I'm the proud principal of Kilgore School. Have been here, proud to say, over a decade. We won't go into the details of that, but a decade. But it is our honor to host the meeting with us today. For all of our board members, Superintendent Mitchell, and administration, and our guests, we're glad to have you. So in Kilgore fashion, I don't take the lead. I step back and let our kids kind of give you a little taste of Kilgore. So first up, we will have our hand chime, bell chime students give you a little taste of what they do. And then you'll see a brief update from our 3rd and 5th grade students. We are proud to be a Vision 2020 school. and thank you for that funding and support. And our focus is 21st century learning. And what that means is we're encapsulating all the best practices that we know students need to be prepared for their next phase in life. So you'll see today some samples of our authentic learning experiences where our students can let you see what they do on a yearly basis at Kilgore. Okay? Mr. Houston, I'll turn it over.
That was an old English carol called Googing Wenceslas. That was our junior bells, our 5th grade select group. And today we're also going to have our senior bells play with one alumnus who is helping out because we had somebody who had to drop out today just because of a doctor's appointment or something. So my apologies on that. But this is our senior bells group. They're going to be performing the anthem to the movie Top Gun.
We are extremely proud of our students. This will be their normal practice time. So as you can see, I think they're doing pretty good. They're doing pretty good. We next want to just give you a snippet of our 3rd and 5th grade authentic learning experience. And to kind of encapsulate it for you, this is a part of our 21st Century Vision 2020 where we're allowing kids to explore specific areas per grade level so that they get a chance to view the world, but actually experience it right now in school. And so for our 3rd grade, their focus is the entrepreneurship and economics. They partner with the University of Cincinnati, and we also have our 5th graders who partner with the National Outdoor Education Association. So when you came in, you might not have noticed, but there's a huge canoe, but I'll let the students share that with you.
Ms. Cook-Frazier?
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
I ask for our indulgence in one thing?
Yes, ma'am.
Board members like to have the opportunity, if possible, to respond to the kids' performance while
Absolutely.
they're still here.
Yes, ma'am.
Can we do that if board members have questions or comments?
Yes.
Okay.
All of my bell chime members, if you just come back up this way for me. Yes. They want to ask a question. Come on up. You can come up here with me. Some of them may have questions for you, so get ready. No, I'm just joking. Come on up. So they may.
You have one.
Okay, do I have everybody? Yeah, it's okay. Come on.
Okay. Do board members have questions or comments? Mr. Messer?
Yes, I will say, after a pretty crazy work day, this is about the best medicine. I could have just relaxed all night listening to that. So thank you all, just really incredible. And I'd be curious, maybe if a couple of you could just give me, what's your favorite part of being a part of the Bell Choir group?
My favorite part of being a part of the Bell Choir group is that we always have practices, and it's like kind of a break from school, and we get to just be together and play beautiful music.
Thank you. Other questions?
My favorite part is that before there was this one girl I didn't really get along with, but and we were putting bells together, and now we're pretty good friends.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
My favorite part about being in Junior Bells is that I get to learn a new instrument, and I get to hang out with my friends after school, and it's fun to do that. My favorite part of being in Junior Bells is I just I like playing the music and hanging with my friends after school.
Great.
My favorite part is just doing music inside of school, and because music is one thing that I love to do.
Oh, nice.
My favorite part of Junior Bells is we all get to collaborate together and have fun and play music.
My favorite part of Junior Bells is that I can be with my friends and we can play music together.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. I have a I think it's an interesting question. I saw the difference in the size of the chimes. Is that what they're called, chimes?
Yeah.
The difference in the colors and the chimes, and the size. Can someone explain to me the different sizes and the different colors?
It's kind of like the piano keys, if you think about it. So the black ones would be the black ones on the piano keys, and the white ones the lower ones.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And then the bigger ones will be the ones that are lower, and then the smaller ones are higher.
Great, thank you. She made it so simple. Why didn't I think of that? Thank you.
Well, she's a Bell.
Okay. Any other comments? Mr. Lindy?
Yeah, I just wanted to say to the 5 boys in the bell choir, out of the 21 people up there, I think that's awesome. I used to play bells in bell choir, so way to go, guys. Thanks.
Mr. Morosky?
And now look at him. You can sit up here too someday. As a musician myself, when I'm not doing school board work, on behalf of you all, I would be curious to know, first of all, you sounded great, and it was really, really impressive. I never seen chime bells like that, so it was cool, A, to see them, and B, to hear you all play them so well. So I'd be curious if a few of you would just like to step forward and tell me who your favorite music artist is right now that sort of inspires you.
She's like, tell her to go. Look, they're telling her to go.
I love your Radiate Love shirt too, by the way.
Yeah, clear. I don't really know many artists, but the person that really inspires me is my brother, because he really is good at guitar, and that kind of inspired me to start doing piano and bells.
Cool, that's
Great.
neat. Awesome.
Yes.
My favorite band right now is Queen.
Oh, I like it.
I wish I could sing like that guy.
I don't, same like hers. He's not really an artist. My sister, she's like an actor and a singer just like I want to be.
All
Great.
right.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Ms. Bowers, last.
I would just like to commend you all on being able to stay on track with your measure as your instructor was counting. It brought me all the way back to 5th grade. I was in the band from 5th grade through 12th grade playing the clarinet and bass clarinet and concert band. We're twins. But nevertheless, you guys are great. You were on point. You were, I should say, concert ready. You were studious and paying attention to your instructor. So congratulations, you did a great job.
Yes, you did. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you so much. It sounds like we have 3 clarinetists up here. Is that what they call them, clarinets? Look, I've forgotten. You can tell them been away for it so long. Okay.
We'll now have our 3rd grade team, and this was a part of their authentic learning experience, and they're going to lead the way. I'm going to step out of the shadows because they did an awesome job. We had our own kind of Shark Tank where they'll be able to describe to you what took place.
So today they will be presenting their business plan.
My name is Alexandra, and I'm the president of the Creative Mustangs.
Hi, I'm Ellie Little, and I'm the marketing director.
Hi, I'm Gus, and I'm the art director.
Hi, I'm Jan, and I'm the treasurer.
Our nonprofit organization is the Ronald McDonald House. The Ronald McDonald House supports families of sick children. Families can stay as long as they have children in the Children's Hospital, and they get to stay for free. There are currently 78 rooms available for families. It's based in Cincinnati, but it serves families from all over the world. We chose the Ronald McDonald House because we feel that it cause benefits a lot of families.
The theme of our t-shirt is Kilgore Spirit Wear. We chose Kilgore Spirit Wear for our theme because they love our school and we had to show that there really is no place like Kilgore. At the top of our t-shirt, there is a picture of our t-shirt, our school, Kilgore. At the bottom, there are words saying there's no place like Kilgore.
How are we going to market our t-shirt? We will use signs and flyers. We will visit classrooms to present our t-shirt design. We are going to make a commercial that will be linked to Kilgore's PTA website.
Expenses, $5 per t-shirt to print, 50 cents per shirt to University of Cincinnati. Nonprofit organization, Ronald McDonald House, $1 per t-shirt. Total expenses and donations, $6.50. Cost for consumers per shirt, $10. Creative Mustangs, $3.50 per shirt.
Great.
We feel that the Creative Mustangs were selected because our t-shirt is one of a kind and represents how we all feel about our school.
So now that we have your attention, we want to give you the background for the company. First of all, I'm Herman Daniels. I'm one of the English Language Arts Social Studies teachers.
And I'm Ann Kroger. I'm the other English Language Arts Social Studies teacher.
And we would like to thank you for making this possible for our students with Vision 2020. as you can see, it really is making an impact on our Kilgore community.
So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about this process and how we started. What we did as teachers, we put teams together in each of our classes. And then those teams had to interview for positions in their company. So we had about 4 or 5 teams per class, and they had to interview with the STEP committee from UC, and they interviewed for president, treasurer, marketing director, and art director. So everybody had a position. And then the teams in the classes came up with a business plan, and they had to research a local nonprofit and select a nonprofit that would benefit from the sales of our t-shirts. So from there, each of our 4 classes selected one winning t-shirt design. And so we narrowed it down to the final 4, and then we had a big presentation here in the gym with all the 3rd graders and the STEP committee, and the STEP committee voted on one t-shirt design that we will sell sometime this spring. And they did the PowerPoint all by themselves.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So our young entrepreneurs will now take questions.
Thank you. Mr. Morosky?
I just want to say great job to everybody, and I hope that we will be able to buy one of these t-shirts. And I wanted to see if any of you 4 wanted to tell me what you liked so much about starting your own business. What was exciting about it? Because you all seemed pretty interested in it.
I think the best part about starting our own business was it can kind of show that even though we're kids, we can still do great things.
Yes.
No doubt.
I like starting our own business because I think it's just really fun that we got to make our own t-shirt design and like present in front of all these people.
I liked this starting a new business because 1, I got to draw my own t-shirt, and 2, we get to sell it and help our school.
My favorite thing about starting our business is to work together.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions, board members? Can each student tell us what grade they're in? They're all 3rd grade?
My name is Alexandra Ryan, and I'm in 3rd grade.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Jan Jackson.
Great.
Oh, grade is still grade.
Okay.
I'm Gus Mana, and I'm in 3rd grade.
I'm Ellie Little, and I'm in 3rd grade.
3rd grade. Thank you. Other questions from the board? Comments? Mr. Messer?
Yeah, I will just say that in 3rd grade, I think I was still trying to figure out how to make lemonade and sell it for 5 cents, and I have no idea how much I had invested in it as you were kind of calculating the upfront expenses, so that's pretty cool. But hearing what you were talking about is what in my day job, very similar. And I don't know how many PowerPoint presentations people that I work with do on a daily basis. I'll assure you what you're doing in kind of this project is going to play out significantly in your future career. So congratulations, and just slip me your resume before you leave.
And just to add to that, our young entrepreneurs are 8 and 9-year-olds.
Okay, great. Ms. Bolton?
Yes, I want to thank you for your presentation. I just hope that we all appreciate the fact that what you are learning to do is incredibly important for your community and the country, because learning how to create a business, learning how to sell things, how to make things, and market things is one of the hardest and most daring things anybody can do in a country. Taking on that kind of responsibility takes a lot of courage, a lot of collaboration, and I'm very impressed. You all seem to have multiple skills, but it looks like you've put all your multiple skills together to be one company. So the vast majority of all the jobs in this country are from small businesses, 87%. So you are doing really important work, and appreciate the staff and the administration coming up with this as one of your parts of the vision. So congratulations.
Yes, I believe we have one more question or comment from a board member, Mr. Messer.
Yeah, do we have any of the parents of these young superstars here? If you could raise your hands. Thank you for being here. And thank you for trusting us with your children, and also just to add on to the teachers very specifically. This doesn't just happen by accident, and I believe we have the best teachers at Cincinnati Public Schools, and you are definitely representative of that. So thank you very much.
Thank you all. Thank you very much.
I think there's
okay.
There's more.
There's no place like Kilgore. Audience, say it with us. There's no place like Kilgore. Go Mustangs!
Yeah, woohoo!
Here comes the canoe.
Oh, that's nice. We appreciate that. Okay. They have another? Okay. One more. Okay.
Good.
I am Barb Culbertson. I teach 4th and 5th grade math and science here at Kilgore. I have created a collaboration and partnership with the Camping Education Foundation, which is based here in Cincinnati. Their headquarters are here on Michigan Avenue. They are an outdoor education group that hosts 2 summer camps up in International Falls, Minnesota, and they have collaborated that the 5th graders get to build a canoe here at Kilgore. So for me as a teacher, it is a really cool experience because it is a major hands-on project. Teaches a lot of team building, a lot of perseverance, and a lot of problem solving. And it's really cool for me because the kids see all of the materials coming in just a big pile of wood, and they were like, there's no way that's going to turn into a canoe, Mrs. C. And I'm like, it will, I promise, just wait. So I have a few of my friends to help share their experiences with you.
Great.
My name is Kaylin Murray in 5th grade, and I like the canoe because I'd never been on a canoe before, and I was like, oh, it's a canoe. It's like a random boat. And then when we went on a trip, it was like very fun. And the counselor was like out of this world. It was so fun.
My name is Van Frank in the 5th grade, and my favorite part of the canoe is that I've seen it since kindergarten. I've seen all the other 5th graders building it, and I've been waiting for this grade to finally be able to build it. Hi, my name's Jake Ania in the 5th grade, and I liked the whole part of the canoe, and it was really fun because it was technology free, and so we carved paddles. So this is one of the paddles that we've carved.
Neat.
Hi, my name is Katie Ragland. I'm in 5th grade, and I just think this is a really cool experience because we get to do woodworks in high school, but getting to do it in 5th grade is just really awesome.
Yes.
Hi, my name's Harper Mon, and I'm in 5th grade, and like Van said, I've just been walking down the halls for the last 6 years, seeing the 5th graders build this awesome canoe, and I've always been like, I'm gonna do that when I'm in 5th grade, and I was so excited this year, and how we just built the whole thing from scratch with the help of Sam and Austin, and it was kind of cool to see the whole thing pull itself together, how the paddles got shaped and how we lashed the boat, and it was just an amazing experience.
Great. Wonderful.
Do you guys have any questions?
Do board members have questions? Ms. Bowers?
Does this boat float?
It does float. So after we build it, this is the 3rd one that we've built. The first one is hanging in my classroom. The second one, we auctioned off at our silent auction last year, and this one we're going to raffle off this year, and hopefully use the proceeds for an overnight field trip for the 5th graders.
Excellent.
But it does float, so we take the kids on a canoe trip on the Little Miami River after we build the canoe.
Great.
Oh, wow.
So what materials do you use for the
Do you
canoe?
guys remember any of the materials? Some of the materials? Wood. Go ahead, Van.
So the things that we lashed with, it's kind of like natural twine or string.
It's called sinew.
Sinew. And wood.
Remember what kind?
No.
Is there a oak? Did you say oak?
There's oak
Okay.
and cedar and ash and cherry.
Gotcha. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Lindy?
I just wanted to say how cool that this is, and as somebody who loves the outdoors and loves canoeing, I just hope that you can have many adventures of your own in your life with canoes in the outdoors and exploring. So good luck.
I think it's a great experience for the kids. It's a release from the screen time and a really cool hands-on project. And for them to see it from absolutely nothing and scraps to something that actually works and is functional is really cool for them. And that makes me happy when I see the joy that it brings to them. So.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? We thank you so much.
you.
That's exciting. That's exciting. Okay, so we're gonna continue with the meeting agenda. Superintendent, our next presentation.
Yes, so our next presentation is to provide the board an update on the scorecard for our strategic plan. And I'm going to do an introduction for Sarah Trumbull Oliver. So the purpose of the district strategic plan and specifically the scorecard is to be able to measure our growth and our progress along the very specific strategies and goals that are outlined by the board. The foundation that we use to build the scorecard is, quite honestly, you have to have a vision, a mission, values, goals, strategies, and measures. And so it totally made sense for us to be able to build our scorecard off of the strategic plan, which encompasses all of these major components. You can see that the scorecard will look at where we are in terms of our vision, our mission, where we want to go, and how we are currently progressing towards meeting our goals, and then identifying what are the next steps that come afterwards. The benefits of a scorecard, there are several. One is to break down an array of objectives, to demonstrate transparency, to coordinate resources, to build confidence around the improvements that we're making, and quite honestly, simply to focus our work. And so this really goes to what we've been concentrated on for the last couple of years, and that is to discern the vital few things from the many trivial things. And so instead of trying to do everything, we want to do a few things, and we want to do them very well. And so Sarah's going to lead into the scorecard in terms of where we are as a result of our second quarter.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
So the headline for the rest of this presentation is CPS is in relentless pursuit of the 5 strategic goals that our community and the board has set that they would like for us to accomplish in the next 3 years. So we are actually almost 6 months in to the execution of that strategic plan, and we are making sure that in order to execute that we have the alignment, the mindset, and the capabilities to execute on that plan. So what I'm going to share with you tonight is the progress on the 28 specific measures that are listed in that strategic plan, which, as Laura mentioned, are intended to answer how will we know when we are achieving our strategic goals. So the first goal is student-centered decision-making. We will put students first, and this goal actually has the most measures of any of the 5 goals. It has 12 measures. So if we look in the Q2 column of this goal, we actually have 4. The color is a little weird on the projector. We have 4 of the measures that are in yellow status, and yellow status signifies slightly off track. And those are the kindergarten, 3rd, 6th, and 9th grade assessment increase, score increase, the ACT increase, and the graduation rate increase. We actually have, I'm sorry, that was 12, or 8 in yellow. We have 4 in green status. Those are the career credentials earned, career points earned, and acceptance into a 3E pathway, and increasing the preschool instructional days. Many of these measures that you're seeing under goal number 1, we are measuring the status mid-year through leading indicators, because a lot of these are outcome measures that we only get the results at the end of the year. And so we are trying very hard to find these leading indicators so that we can track whether we're on track to meet those by the end of the year. So for example, on the first indicator for the 3rd, 6th, and 9th grade, we're using the MAP scores in the interim to indicate whether we are seeing the growth that we want to achieve in this measure.
So Sarah, if I could interject for just a moment. So we intentionally did not mark this as on track because, as Sarah said, we won't get the results until June for both the state assessment as well as the ACT. So do we know exactly right now, this moment, how we will perform? We don't. And so that's a lag indicator. We are giving the MAP assessment as a lead indicator to give us some idea as to where we are, but we really, quite honestly, did not want to color this green because we don't know with 100% certainty, and we will not know until June.
So goal number 2 is health and safety. We have 3 indicators that are in green status. We have 1 indicator which is increasing the parent-guardian consent forms for the health services in yellow. And we have 1 blue, which you may be wondering what blue is. Blue signifies that we don't have any of the interim data available yet, but the milestones or the activities to reach that goal are being achieved. We just don't have any data available yet. So goal number 3 is community engagement. We are empowered by our communities. We have 1 indicator in green, 1 in yellow, 1 in red, and we have an indicator in blue. The 4th goal, optimized capabilities. All 3 of these indicators are on track. The first measure under this goal is about our quality improvement processes in our organization. We actually have 54 centrally tracked quality improvement projects across many of the departments and schools. And the 5th and final goal is growth. This growth goal has 2 indicators that are on track, and that is the market share and the increase in school buildings. The indicators, 1 indicator in yellow status, and that is the increase in preschool enrollment, and it has not yet hit the increase that you see listed in the measure, but we know that this is an active season for the early childhood department. They're actually still enrolling preschoolers now. So putting that all together, 55% of our measures are on track right now, and 45% are slightly off track or significantly off track. Just a quick note that we are already looking ahead to year 2 of this strategic plan. And so you can see on our timeline there where the yellow arrow is, all of the departments have built their new strategies for next year for how they will achieve year 2's metrics on our scorecard. And so they have built those strategies, and now we are in the process of building and finalizing the budgets so that the resources are there to achieve those strategies. So I've just given you an update on where we are so far in execution of the strategic plan, and you may be thinking, oh, 55%, are we going to be able to pull this off? So I wanted to share that we are diligently studying the research about strategic execution, and what comes up time and time again is people. The alignment of employees to the organizational strategy at all levels is required to ensure that they're focusing on the right things and spending their time and effort wisely. In order to align employees to overall strategy, all of our employees must know and understand what our strategy is, but even that alone is not enough. Employees must be able to link their day-to-day work with the strategy of the organization. According to Forbes and Franklin Covey, they did a survey, and 80% of employees report that they don't have clear line of sight between their daily tasks and the goals of the organization as a whole. We know that employees must have that line of sight between what they do and where the organization is trying to go. So how are we doing that here at CPS? It is through those PGSM documents, priorities, goals, strategies, and measures, through the School One plans, through skip level meetings, and through individual SMART goals. So for example, Ms. Bunty's group did a study on individual SMART goals of central office administrators and how they align to our 5 strategic goals. And the most SMART goals fit in under optimized capabilities, and the second most under student-centered decision-making. And if you drill even further into those measures that we just went over on the scorecard, the most SMART goals actually cover measure 1A and 4C. 1A is those academic measures, the assessment scores and the 3 E's and the graduation rate, and 4C is about employee engagement, increasing employee engagement. You can see that we do still have some measures in which there are gaps, and there are no individual SMART goals yet aligned to those specific measures, and so we'll be putting some plans together about how to bridge those gaps. In addition to focusing on line of sight, we also recognize that mindset is a component that is an area of opportunity for us. One extremely valuable part of us executing the strategic plan is this work with the Gallup employee engagement, which is not only a measure itself, increasing employee engagement is measure 4C, but it's actually a critical component of executing all of the other measures. We need to make sure that employees' basic needs are being met, that they're supported by management, that they have opportunity to grow, and that the mission of the organization makes their job important. So, in summary, the 3 key messages are: we have 55% of our measures on track, and we are focusing on line of sight and mindset of areas of opportunity for us to ensure that we are executing. And that concludes the update.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Trimble Oliver. Questions from the board? Ms. Bowers, followed by Mr. Messer, followed by Mr. Lindy.
Ms. Trimble Oliver, I think I must have misunderstood when you were identifying, thank you for the presentation. This is very good. I like visual. When you identified that you're using MAP scores for 3rd, 6th, and 9th grade, or MAP scores for high school?
Yes.
Okay.
So MAP has assessments for high school students as well.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Messer?
Yes, you know, I'm glad members of the public are here to see that, and I wish every person that has the opportunity to vote for one of our levies could hear this, because this is the same language that you would hear in just about any Fortune 50 company that's worth its weight. They talk about key measures that are based on a plan. They give updates that are coded. I mean, this is just textbook in how organizations should run well. So, you know, I want to give kudos to the administration, because I really don't, I actually have been shocked in my 2 years on this board that this organization is run so well. As an outsider, I think you say, oh, well, if it's not profit, maybe, I don't know, government, you know what they say. So I just want to give kudos to just the mechanics of putting this all together, because it all ladders. But I think, you know, one thing that I would say to my fellow board members and the administration, our community partners who put this together, this is really good. And then I've heard people say, but you haven't declared about, what about your failing schools? And I think it just kind of all resonated with me. We just went through the 4 disciplines of execution, which is where this all absolutely falls in. And where I think that lands, it's what we're all shooting for. I don't think anybody doesn't want us to be an A+ district in every building. And I think that's the one thing that's missing. We're assuming it's implied, but I think we have to be deliberate. That we have to declare that wildly important goal, that these components will ladder to get us there. And then I think part 2 is, it also should be known that our superintendent and the assistant superintendents all have building-specific plans that brings this to life at the local level, which is why we're seeing the growth that we're seeing as being one of the top districts in that measurement in the state report card, that we don't necessarily think is good, but at least they say we're improving better than most. So to me, I think it'd be interesting for us to look at that. I think we would all probably be in agreement that we should be a little bit more forced, because it's easy to say, oh, well, every kid should go to a high-performing school. No kid should go to F school. Well, guess what? We fully agree with that. That's why we did this. And I just think it's part of our talk track. So I wanted to add that. And then, you know, as it relates to this, it's, you know, kind of the question as a person sitting on this team, to the superintendent, who is kind of the owner of this overall plan with the administration. If you look across this, what's the one thing that you say is keeping you up at night? Do you say, that's really where we're going to spend our time here in the coming quarter or whatever? What's the one thing that you think is that evening reminder?
Yeah. So quite honestly, there are 2 big things. And the first is our biggest best bet in moving academic achievement in a positive way, improving our outcomes for kids, getting them to a place beyond CPS, is centered on our employees. Employee engagement is critically important to do this work. And the leadership team, we talked for a long time earlier this week that we have a lot of tools and a lot of resources that we're using in terms of building capability and then execution on the plan. The area that we need to spend more time in, which is quite honestly mindset. And that is to invite people to come along with us on this journey, to engage in the work. And so that is the deep work that we're going to be doing and have been doing with our talent development department. It isn't something, quite honestly, that we talk about a lot publicly, because a lot of times the public, what they want to hear about our academic achievement, they want to hear about wellness, they want to hear about students having access to extracurricular and co-curricular activities. But it is a place where we have invested a lot of time and a lot of energy helping our staff members. So first of all, us knowing what staff members need in order to do well in their jobs, and then helping them to have those tools and resources to actually do well. And so that is our biggest, best bet to moving academic achievement. It is really pouring into our people. Our second thing that we really, quite honestly, focus on, and are we happy about the yellows? We are not. However, we are being honest and truthful in terms of where we are. We did not try to paint a different picture, so we have the data that shows the detail behind this. But academic achievement and our kids being successful is what most keeps us up at night and thinking about what's the next best thing that we can do to improve that. And quite honestly, what can we stop doing that is dragging us down and taking our mind off of the prize of academic achievement?
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lindy.
Thanks. Some of what I wanted to share has been covered, but so I'll be brief. I just want to say, first of all, this is very exciting, and thank you. I think to Ryan's point, the rigor around the clarity of what the district is going for, what winning looks like, and how we're doing against those outcomes, I think is very exciting and very clear. I wanted to share, Eve and I were talking about this, but just my reaction to the 55%. If it were 100, we wouldn't be trying things that are hard enough.
That's right.
You know, so like I just offer that because I think being bold matters, particularly for children. So I think that's great. I think that Ryan asked one of my questions, which was, what's the thing that's keeping you up at night? I think the other one I wanted to ask was, if you just take the first one on here around increasing academic performance by 10%, I was interested in what thinking you all have done about why it's yellow. Like, I'm interpreting that to mean it's not where you wanted it to be. And I think the mentors I've had on this stuff have encouraged me to think about getting this clarity is a good first step. But then the next step is to try to figure out why it's happening so you know what to do about it.
So the reason we believe it's yellow and it's not green is because I don't have a definite score right now today on that state assessment that says that we've reached that 10% increase. And so that is the reason that we colored that one yellow. We have a lot of really great, robust strategies in place that are bound to our continuous improvement effort, but I can't tell you with 100% certainty right now today that we've achieved that. And so we did not think that it was transparent to measure our effort on this scorecard. We wanted to make sure that we were measuring results.
But just to clarify on my own end, it's not that the MAP data is lower than where you'd like it to be. The MAP data is where we'd like it to be. It's just that it's the middle of the school year and we got 4 more months to go.
We would like it to, quite honestly, to be higher. We have average growth, but we want better than average growth.
Okay, thanks.
So just if I could follow up Mr. Lindy's question. So the data that we're looking for comes from state data?
Our final data in June will come from the state, and
Okay.
then the ACT will come from ACT.
Okay, so in June, which is next quarter? Next quarter.
Correct. We
Okay.
will have our results.
Okay. Ms. Bolton.
Thank you. Thank you for the scorecard. Thanks for the work. I have just a couple of concerns and questions, really. I think saying that the yellow is off target may be misleading, that maybe there needs to be some other category that we don't have the data, because the off target seems to indicate that somehow it's gone awry in the way, at least some of the yellows were described as we're not measuring. So I mean, I think that would be a fair representation, especially for the people that are in charge of getting that. So just a thought. The two other pieces that are of interest to me, one, we always see, the board does, the aggregate of the whole district. And the reality is, in having just, again, renewed my interest and knowledge regarding the equity issue at the National Equity Symposium, which is, I know, dear to all of our hearts and especially yours. It would be interesting to know to what level you're looking at many of these items at the site level. Because from that standpoint, you might be able, our aggregate numbers actually are fairly competitive, at least with our similar districts around the country. And probably better than any of our sister and brother districts in the state of Ohio. But where it is, to Mr. Messer's point, at the site, unfortunately because of the report card piece, where things get rated, that's important, but what would be more important, I think, would be even based upon us working the scorecard, so to speak, so that you could begin to see what it is. That would be great. And then the other thing I'd like to say on this becomes much more important than the state report card. you know, from what we're doing or trying to do, because we don't necessarily want to either teach to test or live by that report card. We are higher thinkers and fairer minds than the people that put the report card together. This is an easy one. For the preschool enrollment, it'd be great for us to know, and I think you've told us a couple of times, but part of that enrollment piece is that we don't have the seats to put them in, because there are waiting lists in a number of our schools for preschool, that if we had the space, which then lends importance to that whole growth piece, we might be at those spots, and we might be right on target if we had enough seats where there are waiting lists.
So if it's okay with the board, at the end of the month, my plan is to bring to you a detailed update and my superintendent's evaluation that will give you the actual numbers for these specific measures.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Well, let me just add, I see the category measure 3 under number 3 on community engagement, where looks like the board, I guess we need to figure out, because we're doing the activities, we need to work to figure out our measures and how we report it so that it can be tracked as well. Okay. Thank you. All righty. Anything else with this presentation?
No.
Okay. And then our final presentation, Ms. Mitchell.
Yes. So would you prefer that I do it down here at the podium?
No particular.
I think here.
Is this okay? Okay. So I have an update on the conversation about growth. I think someone's going to bring me a clicker, or they're going to click for me. Thank you. Sorry, Rob. I would have gone down there to get it. I apologize. Okay. So this is an update. So I want to be able to do a review, and I also want to make sure that you all have the opportunity to see the slides I'm going to show. I do have hard copies for anyone who wants them. Okay.
Our
I'm a
hard copy person.
kind of girl.
I'll probably take them too.
Anyone who would like them. All right. So when we talk about growth, the headline is that more families are choosing Cincinnati Public Schools, making a conscious choice to come to our district. 3 key messages. This is really talking about, although we talk about buildings and we talk about programming, this is about students, it's about community, and it's about the future. We looked at growth, quite honestly, in a couple of different categories, and one of the first categories we're going to talk about today and look at is optimized capability. And that builds on the foundation of investments in our current schools and our neighborhoods. So this is the information I gave you before. I'm doing a quick review. Under optimized capabilities, we talked about some very specific schools, and you can see the schools identified here. Either these schools are over capacity or underutilized. So when we talk about capacity, we have Walnut Hills High School. So we gave the board an option to consider for Walnut Hills High School back in December. One is to do an expansion to the school, which would add 18 more classrooms to the price tag of approximately $6.7 million. And all of the figures I'm going to give you today, those are the figures from a month ago. So just keep in mind that when we talk about renovations and additions, the price is constantly ticking and going up. In order to add an additional 10 classrooms, which would really allow them to expand, 18 would really right-size them. 10 would allow them to expand. That would be another $4 million. So we were asked to look at other properties that might be available that we may be able to expand Walnut Hills to, and so we did. We were asked to look at the old Hoffman building. That building has a capacity of about 350 students. The renovation for that site is $20.2 million.
Wow.
To make that
building that would be usable for our 7th or 8th grade students. I believe that we were asked about Hoffman. The thought was potentially to make that a 7th grade building or a 7-8 building. And our class, our 7th and 8th grade classes at Walnut Hills combined are a little bit over 1,000 kids. So we did explore the option of Hoffman. And I'm telling you that the size of the building is for 350, and the renovation is about a $20 million renovation to make it junior high ready. Pleasant Ridge is our next area that we looked at. We talked about a couple different options, and I left those options there for you, option 1 and 2, and that's basically to be able to realign some of the current streets to Pleasant Ridge, and those schools would either go to John P. Parker or would go to Woodford School. We were asked to start the work to start some community engagement with that community. And so actually I'm scheduled to go to that school on February the 12th, which is next week, to their LSDMC meeting. We also plan to use a couple of external consultants who we've used before, Cohere and Common, to be able to go out to that community to do some engagement. I will say that we also were pushed, which is great, to explore the possibility of adding on to that school and if there's any property around. So we are in conversation with the golf course. However, in addition to that, Robin Brandon from our facilities department was able to resurrect an old plan that showed a possible addition to the building. So that's yet a possible third option. So we're going to be thoroughly vetting that option with our new position in terms of the acquisition of property. Thank you. So 2 things that we're doing for this right away, and that is to engage the community and then also explore actually building onto that site. We don't know the cost of that yet. Okay, West High and Dater. So you'll know that on many of these slides, the information that I added is a recommendation. So the recommendation for West High and Dater is to be able to maintain 2 schools, to right-size Dater through the lottery process, to add an IB program to Dater, to also expand career tech offerings at both campuses. And so that work is underway. And actually, the next slide shows you the safety and security plan that we're putting in place with a timeline for both campuses. And the next slide also shows you a timeline for the enhancements as it relates to the academic offerings at both campuses. So this will be a 3-year plan, but we are ready to get started next year. So Dater, and then West High was the previous slide. Hyde Park School, we talked about a couple of options at Hyde Park School. One is a renovation to the tune of $6.9 million, which would give the school a capacity of approximately 600 students. Just for your edification, the projection for that building for next year is 550. We also talked about the possibility of not allowing the siblings of the current 147 students who are in that school who live outside of that area, not allowing their siblings to come into the school, therefore, over time, phasing out the 147 kids who don't currently live there. That would significantly reduce the enrollment, in addition to the 48 kids who are transitioning out as 6th graders out of the magnet program. So we will be talking about approximately 200 kids coming out of the school. Only about 50 for the upcoming school year. The 147 others are kind of a phase out. We did, however, also explore what's happening in the Oakley area in terms of buildings, in terms of facilities for people to be able to live. And so we actually consulted with an external contractor to look at the projection of kids within the Oakley area over the next several years based upon the current development that's taking place. And the projection came back that there would be approximately 50 kids in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years. So that is based upon, and Sarah, would you go to the podium, please? It's based upon a census reporting, and she's going to tell us what all, because we wanted to make sure that even if those 200 kids come out, would there be an explosion of kids in the neighborhood because of all the development that's taking place? So we got an external opinion.
So that analysis was based on the ESRI forecast, which uses a model to forecast future development at each age. So that estimate that Ms. Mitchell mentioned is for ages 5 through 11 for the next 5 years.
And we'd be happy to share that report with you. So I believe that during the last conversation that we had about Hyde Park in the board work session, there was a thought to engage the community, specifically the Oakley community. We were asked to engage the Oakley community around what they wanted to see for a school. And so that is also a part of our plan to engage them, as we will Pleasant Ridge using Cohere and Common. Now we talk about underutilized buildings. We have the Carthage site, which currently has pre-K in it. And then we also have Hartwell, which is really over capacity. And so we have worked out a plan to start to use the Carthage building better. And so starting next year, the current pre-K students who are there now will roll up to kindergarten there, and then we'll roll up to first grade there. And then Hartwell will be a second through 8th grade school. And the next page shows the build out for that. So we've been working pretty quickly to be able to bring back a set of recommendations to the board and some ideas to consider. All right, alignment. So in alignment and thinking about optimized capabilities, there were actually 4 schools that we looked at. I'm going to primarily talk about one school because the one school has a ripple effect for the other 3 schools. So we talked about Winton Hills schools, and in this scenario, we have a school that is in the Winton Hills area. There are approximately 200 kids who live in Winton Hills but actually attend Pleasant Hill. And so that makes Pleasant Hill not truly a neighborhood College Hill school. And you have kids who are living very close to Winton Hills, getting on a bus and going up the road to Pleasant Hill. And so we looked at the possibility of moving all of those kids back to the Winton Hills area. But if you remember, the Winton Hills School does not have the capacity to take on an additional 200 students. It is currently a K-6 building. So we explored looking at Jacobs in terms of a renovation, and we gave you 3 different amounts depending on how extensive the renovation, but that renovation also did include having that building serve another purpose in terms of a career tech training center. So that's the whole campus. We were also then asked to go back, and so that's the 25, 33, or 34 million. We were asked to go back and look at how much of a renovation would we have to do and how much would it cost if we just took a portion of the building and slate it for grades 4 through 6 and do just that renovation. And that amount is $8.4 million. Okay, so then we looked at equity. And we looked at Spencer and Cheviot in terms of having a east and west side programming for gifted and exceptional students. And so we are ready to move forward with that recommendation. And so those students who live east of 75 would attend Spencer, and those who live west would attend Cheviot, and then be able to go into a college preparatory program at Dater High School. In terms of equity, we also looked at the west side, and we looked at east side, and we also looked at a central corridor. And so we did a revision on the map that's the next map to show the dividing line, but we also included more schools in the central area offering parents more choice. And so you can see SCPA, Walnut, Virtual, Taft, Hughes, Aiken, and Woodward would be in the central corridor. So we would actually have 3 corridors of schools or groupings of schools, zones. Transportation. We looked at our transportation costs, and we looked also at the amount of time our young people are spending on the bus, and we talked about the fact that in some instances we are transporting kids as far west as Sailor Park to as far east as Walnut Hills, Schroeder. And so we looked at making sure that we could optimize our bus services for our young people while also having a healthy start. And so you'll see that on the next slide, we were able to make a modification to the late school start for next year, meaning those schools that will start at 8 o'clock or later. And so you see that all of our schools will start at 8 o'clock or later, with the exception of Euler, Withrow, and Walnut Hills for next school year. And then the plan is to phase them in the following year. Now, we will say that when we do this phase in, so that all our schools, all of our high schools start at 8 o'clock or later, that means that we need to have a 2-tiered bus system in order to make that happen. So some of the schools who are currently late schools now may have to move 45 minutes later, not next year, but the following year when all schools have a late start. We tried to get that difference down as low as we possibly could. Originally, it was an hour and 45 minutes difference. And so we've gotten that down to a 45-minute change. The principals of the schools that are moving to a later start have all been notified of this late start for the upcoming school year. And then the second document that you have behind that slide shows the start times for next school year. Just to bring back to everyone's memory that we do have some schools who are growing, who will continue to grow, Cairns, Leap, Spencer, Cheviot, Gamble, Montessori, the elementary school, as well as preschool in Carthage, with the potential for Lighthouse and Jacobs. So on this slide, you can see the schools that will be growing, and we are already making plans for this growth in our staffing formulas for the upcoming school year. And then I want to go just a little bit deeper into the conversation about Spencer. And so with Spencer, we will be extending that school just as we committed to 12th grade without a early college program. As you remember, the initial ask for Spencer was to create an addition onto the school to the tune of about $1 million. But as you can see, the current enrollment is 342. The building's capacity is 550, and so the students can fit within that building. There are some modifications that we will need to accommodate for high school, but they are definitely within scope in terms of being able to fit in that building. Quite honestly, we anticipate that their enrollment could go down as we implement the east-west concept, because we won't be transporting kids from far west over to Spencer any longer. So they should really be able to fit into that building. And that has been communicated to the principal. And so we will work with that school staff. And that concludes the update. So in summary, we have community engagement that we need to do with Pleasant Ridge, as well as with the Hyde Park area. Spencer, we're going to move forward with grades through grades 12. We do need to make some decisions about an addition for Walnut Hills and Winton Hills as well. I think the other schools that we have pretty well covered in terms of a plan to move forward.
Ms. Bolton, we'll go around.
Yeah, I have obviously several things. Overall, I'm really pleased about the follow-up that you've done since the work session. I really appreciate it. as only one board member, I really am not terribly interested in changing boundary lines for Pleasant Ridge. From a standpoint that it is solid, from a standpoint that people have committed to PRM, I think it would be too disruptive. And I'm really interested in the addition piece, if at all possible. And I think that's great to find some of those. That's one of the reasons you do hard copies and you put it in a drawer somewhere and dust it off occasionally to look. So I'm really interested, and I think that that would help us focus on more engagement, because what we're going to hear at PRM is that we don't want to leave, we don't want to change, and we want to stay there. And if there's a physical way to deal with that, I think it would be least disruptive to the east side. I would like to re-emphasize, and I know that Mr. Morosky and I are very committed to this, which is and I'm glad we're on this West High and Dater piece, since you did all that great tantalizing of the Missouri piece. That, at least as an overall picture, I think would be good. I like the 2 schools, but 1 campus. That you literally are, all these additions that you're talking about could really muscle up both of those schools. And I think it would be really cool to make it a campus, almost give it the sense that it's sort of a pre-college, pre-career college campus, so to speak. And I think that's great. And I really appreciate how you all have dealt with the equity piece of the career paths on the west side of town versus the east side. Just real quickly, preschools, east, west, and central, or whatever. I know we filled Vine sort of with both preschools and other stuff. And we obviously need to have some kind of additional building as such on the west side. And I do think that some of us have talked about what to do, and it might be in too short a period for us to accomplish it, but something that's early childhood on the east side too, if indeed there is that market. And again, I have great reservations about putting more students or even the same number of students in the same conditions at Walnut. The classrooms are too small. The density of population is too great for teenagers now, let alone staffs. If you have that many people, teachers going around with carts and what have you, and I understand that the Hoffman would be too expensive and maybe not serve enough, but I really worry about that density. And then finally, it'd be great to see a list of the schools that are at capacity rather than underused or over, because planning for the future, I think there are some additional schools where.
We actually have that information that we can give to you later tonight.
Fantastic.
We have it.
That's great. I think we've seen it before, but I know the focus of this report was, rightfully so, as you phase it over time, is under and over. But
we have a list that we will give to you later tonight for each board member. It shows you every single school. It shows you their capacity and their current enrollment and the projection. That's great. It's not in your packet. You'll get it later after this meeting.
And again, because both of my parents were Big Red Hughes folks, that Hughes Annex is a remarkable piece of property in a remarkable location.
So that's in our report as well. We have the number of classrooms that are there. We recognize, though, that it would be difficult to operate that as a school of its own, considering that there's absolutely no lunchroom and no availability to put a lunchroom there, and no gym. But we have that information for you.
Yeah, and I think that's a use of more facilities, how we do it, and that'd be great. And finally, besides the Hughes Annex, I guess it'll be an assignment to really look at the West High building, Western Hills High School building, as to how some structural things can happen internally regarding separating the 7th and 8th grade a bit more physically, just as an option.
Yeah, so Sarah Chimmel Oliver and I had a conversation today Our first priority is to look at data, and the reason is because it has far more students than data with a much smaller footprint in terms of square footage. And so Sarah is going to walk the building with Robin and the principal and really look at the entire campus, but we're going to first start our look at data because that's our most urgent need.
And I would just advise that it'd be great somehow, I know you're limited in time as I am, but West High will feel again like second banana if we start at data and don't move quickly into what, even to walk through to figure this out.
Sure.
Thank you. Mr. Lindy.
Thank you. Superintendent, you may have covered this, and if you did, I apologize, but I was interested in Spencer and parents of kids. You mentioned that the principal knew about the shift, or the upcoming shift. Am I right in thinking that parents who are on the west side and had been able to go to Spencer in the future will not be able to do so?
The principal knows. I told her yesterday. What I didn't want to do is get too far out in front of the board and send any kind of parent communication home before we had the conversation here. The students who are currently at Spencer, who live on the west side, will be able to finish out at Spencer. So we never yank kids out of a school when a decision is made like that, but we just won't grandfather any more siblings into that school moving forward. And so we will communicate with the families about that.
When you think about that, I'm asking this question not in a leading way. I genuinely have no idea what the answer is.
Sure.
Do you expect that to be like a really big piece of bad news for parents? Do you think that it's such a small number that honestly it's not a big disturbance? How do you size the impact that's going to have?
So we looked at this holistically when the board last year asked us to take a very serious look at our transportation costs and to conduct a study to identify where kids live compared to where they go to school.
Yeah.
And so that decision was wrapped up in the bigger picture of looking at transportation across the district.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
So, I mean, what I hear you saying is it likely will be disruptive for a set of parents. And at the same time, there are really good reasons to do it because in the context of finances around transportation, what we're able to do for an even larger number of families because of the money that we would save is a big deal. Is that accurate?
But again, I will say that our plan is not to remove children who are already in the school. We let them finish.
Right, great. Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Any other?
My turn. I still have concerns about the plans for Hyde Park, and especially with regard to the projection of very little growth in Oakley, the projection of only 50 students. We're not even addressing the need for preschool in the Hyde Park Oakley area at all. And if we were able to provide a separate facility or do something for the Oakley people, whether it's a new facility or whatever we might come up with. If you're looking at freeing up 3 classrooms at Hyde Park, for instance, and those students being relocated to an Oakley facility of some sort, I mean, we're already talking about, 75 there, moving over to the other school, plus the 50, we're already approximately, getting close to 200, and if we're going to build a great school, people are going to come. So I think that for the short term, it's a good idea to limit the sibling enrollment at Hyde Park, but we really need to continue working on the preschool issue in the Hyde Park Oakley area because they are in dire need of additional preschool space. And we all know that that's the case. The other issue I have, and one of the speakers referred to this, we have a problem at Walnut Hills, and I'm not sure if we projected that the Iowa test would result in lower enrollment. The way the children have been admitted now, with the higher percentages of students being accepted from Kilgore, and I've been hearing it from Fairview too, because the Montessori children have an option, and I'll get to another issue even after that, but we're going to be driving people out of the district. And the children who had been scoring on the lower end of the, what was the first test? Terra Nova. I think they're doing fine at Walnut. It's not like those are the children that we're losing. So I'm not sure if the Iowa test was deliberately scheduled or anticipated to reduce the population at Walnut, but then on the other hand, we may not have the growth we think we're going to have if people are going to be bailing on us on the east side. And I like what we're doing at Dater and West High. I think that's awesome. I think that is going to draw people back to the district who would not necessarily look at those schools, but we really need to start looking at that at Withrow as well.
So that is a part of the plan. You mentioned to us to really look at both Withrow and Schroeder. I just didn't provide it as a part of this growth presentation, but we have a team who's working on it. And if I could just address the Walnut Hills assessment, or would you rather finish what you were going to say and then I come back to it?
No, that's fine, because the other issue was Schroeder, but if you are going to address it at another time, I'll wait for that presentation.
So it is my understanding that the conversation about changing the assessment to gain entry into Walnut Hills was a part of the conversation doing student achievement last school year, and that it was discussed by our deputy superintendent. The assessment that we had been using, the Terra Nova, was believed to be an outdated instrument to use, and we needed to update to another instrument. So the idea was not to put in a new assessment to limit the number of kids who were allowed entry into the school. But it's definitely something that we can go back and look at, but it was something that was discussed during the Student Achievement Committee.
So will there be a conversation about increasing the number of students who are eligible for Walnut because the results of the Iowa test had unanticipated results?
So I think maybe a good next step is for us to do a thorough analysis comparing the percentage of kids who got into Walnut Hills through entry of the old assessment, the Terra Nova, and then the new assessment, and let's look. I know that there was an analysis done. I'm going to be honest with you, I just don't have the information right here tonight, but I will make sure that I get that and can share it with the board.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Messer?
Yes, thank you. Probably this will be our largest discussion this year. Might be the largest discussion that we've had since I joined the board. So obviously something that's very important. And I'll just start off by saying this is the easy part. The hard part we've not even started, which is the public engagement. Because I think every scenario and every potential change we need to vet with all stakeholders, parents, community members. I think current people that are using our district and people that aren't using our district. And I would, in our growth mindset, I want to talk to the people that haven't chosen CPS before. So hopefully we're building that into the public engagement, and specifically around Pleasant Ridge, and I totally concur with Member Bolton. Capacity, I have been told many times, has prevented some people and some of the surrounding communities to see that as a viable option. I would love to test, if we did this, now what would your perception be? And I think that'll give us some things, and I'm speaking specifically with some people in Gulf Manor and really engaging them very directly, of course, Amberley Village, et cetera. So I think this whole public engagement piece is key, and I'll just put an exclamation point on kind of looking at preschool options today in this whole map, and where do we start? Because as someone who's got those preschoolers, it just is so easy to, as one joins and the other one then goes to kindergarten and then goes on beyond, it just, for working families, single parents, et cetera, making sure that we provide a one-stop shop, I think, is great. So where we have those deserts, making sure we're putting that in there. I think admittedly, some of this stuff is solving some short-term problems. We have capacity, et cetera. I'm also curious about like that 10-year look, and are we thinking about any additional building acquisitions that would be prudent today, preparing for us to get, and maybe it's not that we have something today, although I know there has been discussion about the Bramble School. Would that fit into our portfolio as something that is likely to be available? And are there other buildings that are on a short list that we should be actively watching and monitoring because of the longer range plan? And then last but not least, I am turning into a Montessori crazy parent who just sees it just work. I know it's not for everybody. I'm not somebody who shares tons about school board work in social media, but one post about Montessori generated like 100 comments of people saying, wow, this is something CPS has done incredibly well. Wow, this is some to double down. Wow, we'd love to have it in our area. And so as we have grown in Montessori, my fear is, are we going to have Montessori high school spots for all of these students as they start to come through our system? And are we looking at kind of our portfolio from our types of education as well as the locations, et cetera?
Thank you.
Could I respond? You will later tonight under property, we will provide you that report that gives you the capacity of every school, the current enrollment, and the projection. It will also give you all of the property that we currently own, whether there are buildings on it, and then also will give you potential areas to acquire.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Bowers.
That was a nice segue. I was going to ask you about Central Fairmount, but we'll wait till later. White Street?
Yeah, that's not on our list.
We don't know if we own Central
No,
Fairmount?
we don't
still?
own it. I
Okay,
know that we
okay,
don't, and I
all
don't
right.
know where it is in terms of
Okay.
acquiring it. And that one's not on our list, though.
The question I have was regarding Parker. I know before that you expressed that Parker was under-enrolled.
Yes, although their enrollment has been growing. I want to say Parker's around 430. Does that sound right, Sarah? 490. Ooh, I was off. So it's growing.
Okay, all right,
Which
because
is a
I knew
good
that
thing.
that was a conversation about changing Parker to Montessori, and it was a conversation somewhere, and I said, when did we engage the community? That was probably during the.
It wasn't in
the
our
work
growth
group.
plan.
It was a conversation, maybe. Okay, in passing, maybe. Okay, all right, that's the question I have.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Morosky.
Thank you, President Jones, and thank you, Superintendent Mitchell. Very informative. And to echo, I think it was Member Messer or Member Lindy, somebody. I'd just like to echo that it's impressive that this update came as quickly as it did on the heels of our board retreat. I have very brief things. One, I just want to highlight, put a pin in what my colleague, Member Bolton, brought up about my desire, our shared desire for Western Hills to get some serious love, and not in a casual passing sort of way with flashy signs outside, which were good, but real love. And you know, the Innovation Academy that you're such a fan, I'm still a fan of it. You sold me on it. I don't know if that's the right place for it, but it could be interesting there. It's really encouraging about the Pleasant Ridge Montessori piece, and that Miss Brandon found some documents laying around. That's pretty great. And the conversations with Los Santoville Golf Course are going on as well. I have two questions is all. I think they're both fairly simple. One is for Hyde Park School. Is there any sense of urgency to get the children out of the bank and back into the building? And I'm meaning, is there going to be, regardless of which one of these options we go with, because the attrition one is interesting. I don't know how I feel necessarily about that right now, but I feel like it's going to need some kind of addition at some point.
Yes, so the attrition, it takes time, and of course, those 147 kids don't come in neat packages of they're like all fifth graders, so it could be kindergarten, blah, blah, blah. So honestly, it will come down to a decision of the board to allocate the resources to pay for an addition.
Okay. That is good answers, and I appreciate that. And also, while we're still on that side of town, and we're on that side of town right now, I'd also like to put a pin in what Board Member Bates said about the lack of preschools over here. So if we can keep that in front of mind, I think that would be good. And then lastly, and this was just clarification, so the east-west Cheviot-Spencer thing makes sense to me. Spencer still slotted to become a high school. I was encouraged to see some of the renovations regarding high school classroom needs. And then you referenced Cheviot and Dater. So did I hear that right, that then Dater would be like the gifted high school, and then follow-up question to that one is, would the kids from Cheviot then not be subject to a right-sizing lottery if we go there? Do you see what I'm saying? So if the kids on the west side are promised gifted all the way through, then they can't very well be subject to a lottery.
Yeah, so the reason we had a conversation about students in 7th grade from Cheviot going to Dater is because Spencer has the high school component, but Cheviot doesn't. So then what happens to the kids once they leave Cheviot? And so we thought of what's an option on the west side that we could create a gifted exceptional program at the high school level. So that was our conversation.
Cool. So then in which case, if that happened, and it's a lot of ifs, I apologize,
Yes.
but it's a lot going on. To Board Member Messer's point, this is the biggest thing we're probably going to do. If all that happens, and if Dater was subject to a lottery, these students at Cheviot would be above that, because they would have to be guaranteed the same high school. You understand what I'm saying? They would have to be guaranteed the same high school experience as the kids at Spencer, I guess.
We would have to look at board policy and also then look at our procedures.
Okay.
But we needed an option. We are significantly reducing the number of 7th graders who will be allowed entry into Dater for next school year to right-size that building.
Okay. I just have a final comment. Some of what I was going to respond to has already been stated, so I don't want to repeat that. I think I want to comment on the Iowa versus Terra Nova, just in terms of, I think what I'm hearing, and I'm sure we all hear different things, had more to do not necessarily with the need to change. I think, updating the tool to make it a better quality process, I think wasn't what I was hearing. It was people really didn't know. It kind of caught people off guard. So there's some sense that there was a breakdown in public engagement or community engagement, and communication throughout the schools. So that's one thing. I'm really sold, and I think everybody else is there too, about the Dater and West High scenario. I'm really sold on that. And that also comes from, comments and thoughts and discussions and all that it sounds like that plan is a doable plan. For the most part, I feel like this was very comprehensive. I don't have anything one way or the other that I say I would absolutely want to see happen. But I'm going to say it again. I am more concerned about the kids and the families who are being affected by every single one of these changes. It tends to be those kids and families who don't speak up or for whatever reason. So I just want to make sure as we think through this that we kind of keep our focus on equity and access to make sure that one group of people doesn't suffer more than another group of people, because they're the ones who are speaking the loudest. So that is always my concern. But other than that, I mean, what I see in here has been great. I'm pleased with the work that's been done on that and look forward to the rest of the updates.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else then from board around that? Okay, so we'll move right into our board matters agenda. I believe we have an ad hoc committee update. I do want to make a correction because there were actually two different subjects regarding ad hoc, if I recall seeing the draft agenda. So it sounds like two different people submitted. One was doing an update on the bylaws and protocols, and the other one was something evolving ad hoc recommendations. So I don't know if those were different or the same.
And
Go
I
ahead,
can
Ms.
speak to
Bates.
that. So the 4 chairs were not able to get together. We just could not coordinate our schedules. And I know that there are blue lines, some people, I think Eve in particular, were you the only one who did the blue line corrections?
Yep.
Okay, so at least we have Eve's input. And and we wanted to resolve the bylaw issue before moving forward with all the other issues of ad hoc, because that would have been another meeting for a couple of the same people, when we couldn't even schedule one. So what I am proposing is, for the board to release the assignment for the 4 committee chairs to meet, and that all individuals on the board can give input to the bylaws, and we could do a yellow line and a green line or whatever for the other input. And then I will convene a meeting of the ad hoc committee, and the ad hoc committee will take up the recommendations of the bylaws to bring to the full board, if that's agreeable to the rest of the board. And then at that same committee, we could take up the other issues.
Okay, so I think your suggestion is that we release the
4 chairs.
4 chairs for the moment. But what you're asking for is for board members to submit their input by when? When?
I know, February, well, it's a longer month this year because we have the 29th, right? But yeah, I mean, why don't we say by Valentine's Day?
The 14th.
The 14th.
Okay.
And then the ad hoc committee can look at the next 2 weeks to meet and go through the bylaws and
Okay.
the additional agenda items, if that
Okay.
meets with the approval of the board.
Okay. Ms. Bolton, you had a question or comment?
I think the last meeting, we asked board members to submit individually to staff. And so I think that's well within what was asked last time. I think, too, that it was also suggested that individual committees have the opportunity to be able to talk through suggestions at their committee meetings. We extended that time through February. So I would suggest that the ad hoc committee not convene until after all 4 of the committees can meet. And so besides the individual suggestions, that you would have you would have lists of suggestions from the committees who had met in public and talked among themselves. So, if the ad hoc committee were to convene, I think it should wait until after all 4 committees have met and had their dialogue, because then you'll have submissions from each of the committees, as well as the individual submissions. And let's use the process that you all had planned, which was the, individual suggestions and building it into the existing recommended ad hoc document.
Okay. Are board members okay with that? Okay. All right. So we're going to have all the individual input by the 14th.
Yes.
Committees will meet to discuss input on behalf of their committees, and then Ms. Bates will schedule ad hoc to kind of finalize it. And I mean, in the timeline, I think this reflects the timeline that we had talked about. It probably wouldn't be prior to March or in the middle or end of March before we get the final document. Yes, Mr. Morosky.
We're good then, we're good.
We're good? Okay. All right. So anything else then about that particular agenda item? Yes.
Could I suggest something that was very helpful to me when I was doing that? As was mentioned last time, do that and send it to folks. It was really good to also have open literally the strategic plan. That saves a lot of time, and it meets one of the major criteria that ad hoc had originally recommended, which was to incorporate the strategic plan as much as they could. And I think that was helpful to put that in, because it did merge the plan with possible changes to the bylaws. So just as a suggestion, it really helped me in doing it.
Okay, thank you. All right, so moving on, we have one resolution to present, and it's a duly submitted Melanie Bates and Mike Morosky, who's presenting.
Mike, you can
Sure.
make the motion.
I will present the resolution declaring support for books for pre-K children living in the Cincinnati Public School District boundaries as written.
And I will second the motion.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. Any discussion?
I just have one point I would like to make, if that's all right.
Yes, Mr. Morosky?
I had a reference at the last meeting that there might be a possibility that the remaining balance for this year of $43,000 would be covered. And thanks to the Carter, BI3, Greater Cincinnati, Schmid-Lapp, and Hale Foundation, it has been. So this is just for ongoing support, not for the $43,000. So this is just for next school year and on.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I have a couple. Ms. Ballard.
I have a comment. I read a video clip yesterday. I viewed a video clip yesterday regarding First Lady DeWine and her work in, was it Lawrence County, I believe, on the video clip. And what I just need clarity, because on the video clip, it identified that there were 50 counties, not school districts, but counties that were on board with Imagination Library. But there was no reference to specific school districts. I know that her goal is to get all 88 counties, and that was reiterated several times. So I was really inquiring if you knew of districts outside of Hamilton County that are actually sponsoring Imagination Library.
At present, we would be the first district to take advantage of this. With the governor's wife's support and the state of Ohio's support, seeming there would be more. But in keeping with being the first to do what's right for kids, historically, CPS would be a trendsetter and a leader in this.
Okay. I have a couple of questions. One is, please clarify as I understand it, the population that we would be approving to serve this, in this, would be any kid birth to 5 who lives in the geographic boundaries of Cincinnati. I want to know how many kids is that projected and what the projected cost to the district. Those my first question.
And the answer, to repeat, it's the Cincinnati Public School District, not the boundary of Cincinnati, and it's not every child. It's child 100% of poverty or below. And the cost estimated, of course, these numbers change. This is based on now, $129,188. That is what the resolution is for. And again, as Mr. Messer has brought up in the past, the marketing potential of this for Cincinnati Preschool Promise is also attractive as it would be for us to get people into the preschool programs and then the district. So
Okay.
there would be potential to partner with them on
Too
cost
much
as well.
information. Okay.
Well, I want you to have all the information before you vote yes or no so that
Okay.
you know why you're voting yes or you
Okay.
understand why you're voting no.
Okay. So the cost, how many kids?
129,000. I gave it to you. I gave it to you on a
Hold
sheet.
on.
You have the sheet.
129,000 kids. Total cost again?
129,000 cost, 10,000 students in the
10,000.
Cincinnati Public School District at 100% of poverty or below.
Okay. And do we know how many of those kids are currently enrolled in the district?
Obviously, none of the 0 to 2. We know statistically that for our preschool, whoever's in our preschool, I don't have the exact number off the top of my head. Maybe Sarah Oliver does. How many kids we have in preschool? How many 5-year-olds we have? But we do know that over 3/4 of the kids in the district limits attend our schools. That we know.
From whose data?
From CPS. I'm just talking about all the students.
Okay. So, okay. All right.
Correct.
So my other, and I kind of wrote down, I don't want to belabor this because I kind of think I know what direction this is going to go, but I want to comment on that, but I do want to ask the superintendent and the treasurer for their perspective on this. Number one, because my recollection and going back to our minutes and conversations is that we had a meeting where the superintendent came to the board with a recommended option. And while it was not, we didn't approve it in the form of a resolution, we did support that. So I want to know from the superintendent, did anything happen with that, or in general, what is your perspective on this, or your recommendation or your thoughts? And also from the treasurer, what are the implications overall for our budget and so for the district budget?
So earlier this school year, I was made aware that there were 10,000 young kids who were a part of this program. And I asked, of the 10,000, how many are currently in a CPS preschool? I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it was approximately 400 students. And then I got the cost of the program, which I think is $35 per kid, and multiplied that out, and it came out to be roughly $17,000 to $18,000, which my recommendation was for us to go ahead and pay the $17,000 to $18,000 for this year to pay for kids who are currently in a CPS preschool. And so that was my recommendation. I believe it was back in the fall. And so do I think it is great to have books in the hands of children? Absolutely. I do believe that we should be funding those kids who are currently within our district.
Okay.
So I've stated before that my concern about funding children under 3 could open a Pandora's box for us in terms of some of our other projects. I'm also concerned that it's a letter from the governor's office or the state auditor's office saying that he won't do a finding for recovery because it's in the governor's budget. But that budget changes every 2 years, and so does that office. And I'm concerned that it's going to put us into a long-term position that we're not going to be able to handle.
Okay. So I thank you, because I needed that clarification. And I first want to say, and I'm not going to prolong this, because we need to get to the vote, but I firmly believe that early learning definitely has a positive impact on the educational process. I don't take that away, and I would love to see all kids, as the superintendent said, that have books in their hands. I also believe that it truly does take a village, but CPS doesn't always have to be the village. We have a role in this. We agreed to pay for those kids who were in our school, who were enrolled in our district. And with that, I firmly believe that the use of the clarification on proper public purpose is being used to justify why we should do this, and the fact that it's a marketing strategy. Well, where did that come from? Well, hold on, it was a recommendation, but did we ever decide that as a board in terms of strategy or priorities, that was a marketing strategy? And I believe that given that it is going to set an undesired precedent, and I'll just put preschool promise out there, because the issue 44 passed with the population being served as 3 to 5. Now it feels like we're going to be looking at maybe opening this Pandora's box to make those kinds of changes. So that's where I am, and that's it. I'm not going to say any more about it, but people can respond. Mr. Messer.
Yeah. I respect everyone's opinion, but I also, as a board member elected by the community, has one sole focus, and that's to ensure that we have the best quality schools and we become the #1 choice for education in Cincinnati. And the fact that only 400 of those kids are currently enrolled in CPS tells me we have an opportunity to connect in a different way. As a person who does sales and marketing for my life and have for 23 years, to have a direct-to-consumer program handed to you to pilot, it's a 1 year, it's a trial, it says it's going to be reviewed. This is such a way to engage with parents in a way that I don't think has ever been done before, definitely not in Cincinnati. And I constantly hear How does a magnet program work? Don't you have to stand in lines? I've heard this in very low-income parts of our district that don't understand. I see this as, yes, great. Kids, I want them to have books. But on top of that, I'd rather spend half of the 100 and whatever, which is probably a fraction of our marketing budget, for a billboard that may or may not be seen by someone as a pilot. And that's, it's my personal opinion, and it doesn't make it right or wrong. It's an opinion, and I think we should vote to how we think going forward.
Okay, Mr. Lindy.
I wanted to thank President Jones for taking the time to talk with me about this issue over the last couple of weeks and months. And I wanted to share that I think my current intention is to support it, but I wanted to share why, because I do think that President Jones makes some really important points, both about precedent setting and about process challenges that aren't in a perfect world the way we'd like to do things, and some ongoing financial considerations that I think are incredibly reasonable. I think the reason that I'm ultimately going to support it is I think this is a situation where lots of different people have tried to do the right thing. That there was a group that came together some years ago and offered to provide some upfront funding for a test to see if the program produced really positive results for kids, which it did. And they did that under the understanding that there would be a source of funding from CPS later on. What's challenging is that those folks are no longer here. And people may have different opinions now, and that also is incredibly reasonable. And so what do you do in a situation where multiple people have tried their best and tried to do the right things for kids and tried to set up good processes? As a line of sight into why I want to vote the way that I am, I think this is a chance to do good things for children. I think people who were at this table some years before were trying to do a good thing and delivered on the things that they were trying to do. And so long as we can keep this at a relatively small scale investment in a thoughtful way, I think that's the Solomonic thing to try to do under the circumstances.
Ms. Bolton?
Now, being fully aware of where the board's going to go on this, because I didn't know where Mr. Lindy was, I was surprised at Mrs. Bates joining it. I know my friend over there, Mr. Morosky's been in favor of it. If he could, he'd have everybody to his house and take care of it and read to all 10,000 children. But since it appears, based upon public, I'm going to be very prolonged and specific, because this resolution is a disaster.
I agree.
It's a disaster. And if the board's will is to pay for this, this language needs to be much different. There's inconsistencies about whether the kids live in the district or don't live in the district. Even the title, PK children, it's really 0 to 5. I mean, if the majority is going to vote for this, and frankly, it was never anybody at this table that agreed to that memo. That was a superintendent-driven, not this superintendent, trying to get through and maintain a good partnership with Children's Hospital. That is what that was. And that's what superintendents do, and it didn't necessarily come back to us in a memorandum of understanding. But looking at this, since it appears that this is going to pass, the title, and I'm going to take the time to do it so that it is not open-ended. It says an annual review, but it doesn't say for this coming year.
Right. That was to Mr. Messer's point of a year. It's not clear.
It has to say a year and then a review of the year. It cannot be just we're going to have a review and then see. We can only possibly commit to this coming budget year, this one fiscal year or whatever, not so open-ended. So I think the title needs to change to 0 to 5, if that's what you really mean. And I think it is, and I totally understand the value. This is I'm really old. This is my 48th year worrying about public education as a grown-up. So I understand the value of this. So it would need to say 0 to 5, which is what it is. Whereas kindergarten readiness with a focus, literacy, whatever, school success in Cincinnati Public Schools and in life, that should be hopefully in Cincinnati Public Schools, or cut the Cincinnati Public, because we're going to be paying for people that are not going to be joining us. So don't set the precedent, anybody thinks that this is just for us. So it should be within the boundaries or something. And then go to the next one, from birth to 5. Birth to 5, we're going to say that needs to be reflected in the title. Whereas children participating, and then it goes on for the Reach Out and Read, demonstrated 15.4%. And then down there's a survey that was taken, and it says something about the statistics. We need to be able to cite our local statistics. So I just have a question. Do those statistics represent the national percentages, or do they represent the local percentages? And I think it's important to put them in there. I also think it's very important to at least publicly say how much money per child, anticipating how many children, and what the total cost would be for the fiscal year. We cannot hide the cost by not, and they're not hidden, we can't neglect the cost. The taxpayers need to know, especially since some of this is not going to be spent on people that pay the taxes here, because it's outside the boundary lines. Because the last I heard was that the boundary lines were based upon, and maybe that's been cleared up, and maybe this language helps that, what you've suggested. But the last I heard, it was zip codes. It was not attendance boundaries. I have a question, too, about who is administering this. Are we administering it? Does the word Cincinnati Public say, is that printed on every book? Or is it Children's Hospital on every book? These are things we have to know. If we're using it in marketing, by God, CPS will be ablaze across the books. Because if that's what we're going to spend this money on, and again, with some of these clarifications, it starts to be better for me. And I think that the language could be there, and since it appears as a majority anyway. Whereas parents and children enrolling in kindergarten at CPS can be contacted through research to read practices and enrollment, immunizations. I think that's all great. But it isn't just going to be going to people that are enrolled. If they already enrolled, they're going to be getting it by, 6 months before they become 3 anyway. So just some more clarity here, because we're spending tax dollars. Keep in mind that there was a tremendous fight for preschool promise, and Ms. Bates will remember this, because they initially had suggested that if you lived in Cincinnati Public boundaries, but you had your kids go outside the district, they could also be subsidized. Well, no, it was determined that you have to be in a preschool in this public. We are spending millions already helping private vendors, because we saw the value of that. We're spending a lot of money that's been raised by us because the city refused to do it, because the business community didn't want to have an income tax in the city. The county, and thank you for pointing that out about counties. That's interesting. That's interesting. We'll be the first school district doing this. Well, we might be real proud of that, but when our taxpayers start to figure out that we're spending money on kids that are not in enrollment, and then we're being upset about vouchers,
right?
We have to be intellectually consistent here. And then the last couple of things, I'm very concerned about the boundaries. If we look at it as marketing, I wanted to say Cincinnati, but I am curious about who administers it, and knowing that when they first presented, the real value that this thing had, besides hoping that parents and children would read together, was the fact that somehow Children's was better able, through the medical profession and whoever was administering this, to keep track of what addresses these kids lived in. The mobility of these families is one of the most difficult things we have to deal with. If that improved that starts to be more important and more valuable. However, who administers it? Because if we're paying for it, are we going to outsource the administration to Children's? Or are we going to have an administrative office that does this? I have no shame about not supporting it from a standpoint of we are already spending millions of tax dollars helping private vendors with preschools because there was a need for it, and the public wanted us to do that. And then finally, on the resolution, it needs to be for 1 fiscal year, and then upon that, a review. And in anticipation, I would think, a paragraph here besides cost and all that stuff, in anticipation that within that year, greater, wider partnerships could be formed to assume this, so that we are not assuming it by ourselves, and we are saying to those partnerships, be it Children's, by the way, how much is Children's putting in on this?
You asked a lot of questions, all of which I can answer, so I don't know if you're done.
Almost, from the Children's standpoint about administration. And then I want to know is, and I never understood this when they presented, is it, since Children's is not a lot about the birth, whatever, they're treating children, are all medical entities being served by this program? You know, all the hospitals, I would need to know that, all the medical professions that are being, it isn't just the children's clients that's being served. Okay. That was an important thing for me, too. And then finally, I just would love to have this be rewritten as because we are committing something here that is not yet fleshed out.
Okay, Mr. Morosky wants to respond to the questions, and then I have another comments too.
I would like to respond to the questions, and I do want to take a vote on this tonight. I've been talking about this for over a year, have addressed every concern, and there are still more concerns. A lot of the questions that have been asked, I thought I answered in the fact sheet that I presented folks. You can make faces if you would like, but they were in here, such as children's...
Excuse me, Mr. Morosky, you talking to me?
Mm-hmm.
No, I wasn't making a face. I'm sorry. And I don't want us to go there. I said that in the beginning. We're not going to go there. Everybody is entitled to how they feel or whatever. I am not making a face at you.
Okay.
Okay, and I don't appreciate that, but go ahead.
I didn't appreciate it either. Children's administers it. Children's is covering the administrative fee at the cost of 100% of the administrative fee. So that could be written in here if you wanted to have CCHMC language in here as far as administering it and paying for it to be administered. It's only for children in the CPS boundary. The zip codes and the county zip codes before is when they were doing the Reach Out and Read program through the well child visits they were using on zip codes. It has since extended to any child 100% of poverty or below, and that's 10,000 children, roughly give or take, in the Cincinnati Public School boundary. So CCHMC is picking up the tab for the administrative part of it. The other piece that I hear what you're saying in principle. I don't see it the same way as the voucher piece, particularly because, to Mr. Lindy's point, you had a group of folks that paid to show the effectiveness of this program. No one's ever done that with vouchers. They've just done it. And in fact, the research would seem to say that it's not that helpful. So I think it's different in the sense that people have paid to vet this program and to show that it works. I also think that that makes it unique from saying we're opening a can of worms to this, that, and the other thing to come into the district. I said this last week. I'll repeat it again. We all get a number of requests of people that want to do something that's good for our kids. If we added it all up together between the 7 of us, it's probably over 100 a week or every couple weeks. Again, I think this is different in that it was paid for to be proven effective. It has been. The statistics, to your point, are for the current program. Those numbers obviously would have to be truncated down to just for the students that are in the district. Those are the averages of the current administration of the program. When the folks came and presented to us, at least twice since I've been on the board, to show the increase of lap time and all, these are where those numbers came from. So administration, the CPS, and then, yeah, to your point, also these books, if we want to stamp them with Cincinnati Public Schools all over the front of it, sure, we can. But again, we would have the help of Cincinnati Children's to do it. I accept the 0 to 5 in the title. I'm less inclined to be amenable to changing the last, be it further resolved regarding the support of this. I added in a few words after speaking with the treasurer that I thought tightened it up. And there were only 4 words, but they're the 4 words subject to board appropriation that in the last version did not exist. And the last version said, the CPS Board of Education approves financial support annually. That just kind of sounded like forever. Now it says we approve, subject to board appropriation, the financial support annually, assuming that it's living to its stated purpose. So that was added from the last time, the one that you currently have. Again, I would really like to take a vote on this tonight, simply because I think it's important and we have been talking about it for a long time. I do think some of the changes make sense. Again, when it comes to the final paragraph of just committing to 1-year period, I'm probably less inclined to be in favor of that due to the subject to board appropriation piece.
Can I make my comment? I think I just need to say this. Everybody on this board's opinion is valued, and facial expressions is not a factor in that. And the reason why I am so adamant about this is exactly what I said before, and I agree with Ms. Bolton about the resolution itself, but I didn't even comment on that. But the process itself has been messy since day one. So, we value ourselves on collective and engagement and having conversations about this. And yeah, I believe Mr. Morosky has presented information. There was one point when student achievement presented information, children's presented. But all during this process, let's just be transparent about this. We have people negotiating outside of our board process. That's the reality of it. And it started in 2018. We know who started it because, and what was happening is that people were going to different people on the board to lobby. Now, that happens all the time, but this is one case where I feel like that we have not come together collectively to talk about this, and it's because 1 or 2 people, I don't know, maybe I'm speculating on that, who really want this, has done research to support it, and here we are. And so if I make a face, it has not, I don't feel one way or another about people individually, but I am adamant about having a process that is fair and open and transparent, and this has not been. Now, if we want to vote on this tonight, we can do that because we already know what the outcome is going to be. But but that's my comment, and I'm not going to say anything else about it. Mr. Messer, and then Ms. Bolton.
Yeah, I'm just an observation here. I mean, I think things are really easy when we can all agree on something and make things flow, but I've never been a part of a team ever where everybody is in full consensus on everything, ever. Work today, knock down, drag out on a conference call.
I agree.
But we can disagree without being disagreeable, and sometimes 3 might want to do this, 4 might want to do this, and I think it's okay and healthy not to have 7 always want to do the same thing always. And so I totally respect the comments on the process, and I think, I don't think anybody intended to do anything outside of scope or anything. I mean, I think people in any subject, you're searching for information to help make your case. Because if you believe something, then you're like, well, I better find that out. So I specifically went to the people that, when I was interested in this purely for a different reason than I think some, they said, of course it can be packaged. And of course you can include information. That to me was what kind of got me really interested long before it even got too far down the pike. So I just think this is a great learning opportunity of having something that we may not all 100% agree on, and just being able to disagree without being disagreeable, because I think it happens in any body or any team in any organization.
Ms. Bolton?
I think Ms. Bowers had her hand up first.
Ms. Bowers?
I just want to propose that with the urgency or the desire to move the vote tonight, would it be appropriate to make the amendment to the corrections and the resolution? And if we do vote tonight, would that be sufficient? If we want to vote on it? That's my suggestion.
Okay, Ms. Bolton?
Yeah, I've lived through the last couple of years where we were united on critical things. And I guarantee everybody, when it was 7-0, it didn't start out as 7-0, whether it's FC or whether it was our abatement discussion. It got there through everybody paying attention to one another. And to Mr. Morawski's credit, he has withdrawn this, maybe not a resolution, at least 3 times. He's pushed it with great diligence and persistence. I would like to suggest that we revisit the resolution, let the movers and the seconders and whoever to help us with the language, and it would be great to be able to move this to not the 3-4, because I've lived through those times too. The name of Creative and Performing Arts School, I've lived through where we had at least 3 years that I remember on the board. The first 6 months on the board, Mrs. Blackwell would walk in, and I was president at the time, and she would put up 4 fingers, meaning were there 4 fingers to remove her publicly without her knowledge. I've lived through 2 or 3 years where indeed people counted to 4, and we can name people, and counted to 4 and then boom. Or when one of the 4 was not in attendance, we delayed a resolution till we had the numbers. I ask in great respect that at least we wait until February 10th, the movers and the shakers and whoever else, with whatever suggestions have been made here tonight in public, come back with a resolution that might have a chance to not be a 3-4. And there probably are ways with certain limits that you could get to more than 3 and 4. And I think that's healthy. If we could think about doing this, only a delay from Thursday and Friday, and even if it doesn't make it into the packet on Friday, we could still have it ready for Monday, and we could be a more united board about this, since all 7 of us care obviously deeply about every child. So I just ask that in earnest, and would hope that we could do that.
Ms. Bates?
Yes, I'm ready to go tonight, so I'm up for the vote. And you did not bring that up when we had the vote on start times. We were not a united board on that, and that's going to cost millions. We're talking about $123,000, and if it doesn't work out, we have subject to board appropriation. I know that extending from 0 to 5 is new territory for us. You know, this is a stretch. We're one of the first districts to do this in the country. That is not new for us either. But, you know, I know that I'm willing to take the risk on $123,000. And, you know, if we decide that this is not something down the line that's working out, or the burden's getting too great, subject to board appropriation, we can decide differently in future years, but I'm ready to go tonight.
Okay, Ms. Bolton.
Since it was raised regarding the late starts, that was a 3.5-year process. This has been a 2-year process. The reality was that, and there are 4 that I know right now, people on this board that participated in the writing of the language of that resolution. Even one person, as I can recall, it was a 5-2 vote, even one person who at the day of the resolution said do this, and then still could not come around and vote on it because of other concerns. So I think that there's precedent to bring it back, and it's obvious if we don't bring it back, if we want to vote on it tonight, it's way too open-ended, and the language apparently by the movers and the seconder is perhaps unwilling to make the additions that make it a better resolution, or a more, a more acceptable resolution to a larger number of the board.
Ms. Bates.
I call the question.
Yes. Question.
I call the question.
Okay.
And
So
we can either vote on calling the question, or we can
okay.
just
we
vote.
need Do we need a vote on the call to question?
Unless people.
She needs a
if-
second to it.
Well, if people want to continue to speak, we do. If everybody's had their piece, then I can withdraw the call to question.
Okay, are we completed in our discussion? Because I think, okay.
I want a better resolution.
All right, so we need a vote, and I'm looking for direction. Do we need a roll call vote on Ms. Bates'
Calling the
call?
question.
I defer to Dan, because
Okay.
I've never had that one before.
Then we need a second, and we need a roll call.
Okay, so Ms. Bates entered a call to question. We need a second? We need a second. Mr. Morosky.
No, I wasn't seconding it. I wasn't seconding it.
You don't want to.
I wasn't seconding calling the question. No, not yet.
We need a vote. You entered a call to question as a motion. So it's a motion for call, it's a motion.
Correct, but I'm not sure if there was a second or not.
No,
That's what I was asking for.
Then it doesn't need a vote.
It doesn't
because
need
it's,
a vote?
So
Okay.
the discussion will continue till either someone calls the question, there's a second, and there's an affirmative vote to vote on the motion tonight, or if somebody's making a motion to table it, or to, then that can happen also. That would also need a second and a majority vote.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Morosky.
So no
I don't.
second
I'm not.
fails, right?
I'm not necessarily opposed to a couple of the amendments. I don't hear that as an option. I hear shelve it till Monday or vote tonight. And the amendments that I heard, and there's really only one that I'm not really in favor of, which is amending the final paragraph. And no, I'm repeating myself, but the other ones of the 0 to 5, making note that it's national data, or I'm sorry, not national data, but broader data than the district. And adding a piece about potential partnerships, whether it's continued with CCHMC or it's new ones with CPP. I don't have any real issue with adding those amendments to this. Again, and I appreciate your words, Ms. Bolton, recognizing that this has come up at least 3 times, and a version of this resolution has been before this board before Mr. Lindy was even here. And so this is not new, and I too respect the process, which is why all of this has been done through committee and in this public session. So I'm uncertain where some of the criticism of that comes from, but it's fine. I don't need to be certain about it because this has all been done at this body or in a committee meeting. And so again, I appreciate you at least pointing out that I've rescinded this so many times. I want to take a vote on it tonight, but I would like to discuss if there are amendments that could go into it at the risk of extending the conversation.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
Ms. Bolton?
is the seconder willing to agree to proposed amendments or adjustments?
Can they be read?
Yeah, we're going to have to write it in public. I mean, we're going to have to go stanza by stanza or whatever. Are they paragraphs or stanzas? It sure isn't poetry, but.
Well,
Okay. Well, can I back up because and Mr. Hoying, I'm looking to you for clarity because we didn't have a second on the call to question. So I believe where we are now is Mr. Morosky is saying he's okay with making amendments. Do we need to vote on whether or not, do we need a motion on making amendments to the resolution? Or can we just agree on that if folks agree to that?
So our practice has been if the mover and the seconder agree to friendly amendments, then they can be added. So that's one way of amending the motion, the resolution. A second way would be for someone to actually propose an amendment. If there's a second to that amendment, there can be discussion on that amendment and then a vote on the amendment before you get to the vote on the resolution.
Okay. Ms. Bates made the initial motion. Are you willing to make a motion to amend and present it at the next meeting?
I made the initial motion.
I'm sorry. You made the initial motion. So I don't know. I don't remember who's second.
Ms. Bates made the second.
You want us somebody else can table, we could vote to table it. I'm not going to make that motion to table it.
Well,
I'm ready to go tonight.
then what I'm hearing from board membership, we need a motion to table it with making the amendments and then resubmit it for Monday's meeting, the next board meeting. We need a motion.
That's not, sorry.
Or a motion to amend tonight.
Yeah.
A motion to amend tonight and vote. Okay? Okay, I got you. That's what you were saying.
But we
Okay,
need to
so
know
the
what
motion.
we need to know what the amendments are.
Okay.
Well, I need to know what they are.
So did who wrote the
I wrote
amendments? Okay.
I mean, a couple of them, I'm sure.
Yeah, Mr. Morosky suggested that, said he was willing.
Okay.
So, and he's make a motion to amend, and then somebody needs to second that process.
Yes. Mr. Morosky made the motion to amend, and he
I haven't made it
stated.
yet. I haven't made it yet.
He's thinking about it.
I'm totally confused. We need a motion for the resolution. The motion for the resolution is on the table.
Correct.
And what we're doing is motioning and seconded to include the amendments that Mr. Morosky just stated. That's the motion.
Just again, you're correct. Currently, the resolution is under discussion. I don't think there's been a motion to amend at this point. If Mr. Morosky and Ms. Bates are willing to amend, that they have the ability, as the movers, they have the ability to do that without any motion or anything else. If someone else wants to move to amend, they have that ability as they can say, I move to amend the resolution.
Right.
So I was going to read back.
Okay. You can go ahead and read back. Thank you.
I have a point of order. Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Morosky has said that he's willing to do some of the amendments as recommended as friendly amendments. And if we are voting, Mr. Hoyne?
Okay. Go ahead. There was a question.
Yes. If I need clarification. To amend, he suggested there are several that he would be willing to do. If this motion then passes that these are the 4 or 5 or whatever, or 1 or 2 that he's willing to have amended.
Yes.
And then there's a call and there's a second, we'd only be voting on the things that he's agreed to or finds acceptable based upon what we've already said. Is that correct?
That's correct.
My interest is for the board to be able to thank that only one of the writers, so to speak, or introducing people, one of them said no to anything else, let's vote. One said, I'm willing to make friendly amendments or accept friendly amendments. He listed a few. I just want to say it's in my interest, and perhaps others, that we do what we've often done, which is together go through, again, not just based upon a list, who knows who was clear or not clear, I'm reading from 3 different note pages, to sit here and at least write what would be best, and then see which ones would be acceptable to the motioner and the seconder before we vote on only the 3 or 4 that he has expressed interest in. So if he's going to motion to accept amendments, or does he have to say yes to the amendment, or can he say, I'm willing to have further discussion tonight and get it done tonight, so there is a vote tonight?
So again, the mover and seconder can agree to whatever friendly amendments either are proposed at the table or that they propose themselves. If someone else wants to move to amend, they have to move, get a second, and then have a majority vote for that amendment.
Mr. Morosky.
Can I propose then that we just dig into it right now, and if you have friendly amendments, Ms. Bolton, then we'll just start with the kindergarten readiness. I have some already written in here, and we can agree or disagree as we go along and see where we end up. But if you wanted to start, whereas.
I want to start with the title.
Okay.
And it doesn't just have to be me, it's whoever else, right?
No, absolutely.
Okay. I would like to change the title so that it is clear that this is 0 to 5.
Okay.
And whereas kindergarten readiness will focus on early literacy, prepares the students for future school success in Cincinnati public schools and in life. The reality is it's more than Cincinnati public schools. I want to be very transparent to the voters that it is success in public, because it also is private schools, it's also Catholic schools, so we're just saying school success in life, or increases literacy for children attending all schools.
So you're just suggesting to scratch out Cincinnati Public Schools? Okay.
I'm going to keep track of all this and then read it back at the end.
Please do, because if we'd have to have some hieroglyphic person come in and
Let's
look
do
at this
it.
piece.
I got my highlighters. I'm ready to go.
Okay. Whereas the Reach Out and Read Dolly Parton Imagination Library program has been shown that it can improve kindergarten readiness in children in need of providing anticipatory guidance about reading to parents at medical practices. Is it all medical practices, some local, or, I mean, I don't want to fight about that, but I do think we need to.
Say targeted.
Okay.
Targeted medical practices.
Coupled with sending one age-appropriate book a month to the homes of children from birth to 5 years of age. So that's consistent with the new title. Whereas children participating in blah, blah program have demonstrated, when we just say nationally, yes.
I was going to say, I was just going to begin it, whereas current data, based on current data, I mean, the allusion being, of course, to the broader zip codes. We could say current data with zip codes that aren't included in this. We want to be that specific, but because it wouldn't necessarily be national, but the current data, that may not be the same set.
All right.
Cincinnati area data, current data based on the Cincinnati area.
Okay, but is this data that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Super, that would be great. Let's see. With the next, whereas participating program survey reported, and that was fine. I don't have a problem with sharing with their children, increase that. Whereas and then it goes on, can potentially reduce costs by helping predict kindergarten enrollment locations to aid the appropriate staffing. I think that's kind of crazy, but I can live with it. I've never thought that was a good argument, but I can live with it.
Okay.
Because we don't know that it's not true. And then improving reduce reading interventions. I think that's possible. Whereas parents and children enrolling in kindergarten at CPS be contacted through. So it's really not enrolling in kindergarten. We're going to be contacting a lot of people that aren't going to be going to Cincinnati Public. So it's more throughout the whole program. Whereas the parents and children enrolling in kindergarten can be contacted through. For it to be a marketing ploy or process, we're going to be reaching out to all those children, not just the ones that could be attending. See what I'm saying? Yes.
Would you be all right with enrolling in kindergarten at CPS and other students, or do you just want to excise?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
Whatever. I just so everybody knows, we're marketing to people that we know aren't going to be going to CPS or may be going to CPS.
Okay.
I just want it to be that we're not going to know necessarily when somebody's 6 months old. Okay. Children arrive on time, ready for first day of school. I don't have a problem with that. Kindergarten at CPS, it's not at schools and others, at CPS and other schools.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas program sponsorship can serve as marketing campaign, parents, I would strike that, even though I know it's part of the purpose.
Which one?
The one that's just about marketing, whereas the program sponsorship can serve as a marketing campaign for parents with children living at CPS. It kind of diminishes the higher value of it.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It looks like we're doing this, and we are in part, but most of us, all of us are wanting the children to be able to read better and families to have that time rather. And so I just think I would cut that one. And then, are we now at the now therefore? Cincinnati City School District Board and Administration, I'd like you to chime in a bit on this, because I don't know this stuff here. Therefore, be it resolved that the Cincinnati City School District Board of Education supports the mission program and finds that it serves proper public purpose. Now, that we believe it does. And we've had the list, the wonderful letter from the chief of staff, from the state official person. Of course, he told us to check with our own council, and this doesn't count as a what do they call it, advisement or whatever. I think it's, if we have to believe that it represents a.
Got it. Yep.
We don't know that I really don't know from that letter if it does.
Yep.
Proper public purpose, providing children that reside in the district's boundary with age-appropriate books and early literacy guidance for their parents, caregivers, through RORC, sure. Both of which help prepare these potential, forget the potential, for children, all children participating, and then say hopefully or potential or possible. People don't like us to spend money on potential. See, I mean, you're the wordsmith, as I've learned these last couple of years. If there's a way to do something in that one, and then be it further resolved that the Cincinnati City School District Board of Education approves, subject to board appropriation, financial support annually in its budget for books and administration, blah, 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 program to continue to serve children that reside in the Cincinnati Public School District as proving to be effective, expressed mission of raising. I just want something stronger than annually. I want it to be for this coming fiscal year and possibly into the future. I mean, I want a real, God forbid that we have to go through this every year and be upset with one another or whatever. Is there a way that it can be a little bit strong? I mean, because it is open-ended with that, even with a review or an audit or whatever. Is there a?
Again, that was the impetus to add the subject to board appropriation, because ostensibly the beginning or every budget process, particularly with superintendent's leadership of looking at the buckets and the low cost, high impact, which I think this could fall into, but the point is all the departments have to kind of look at this, and then we are the ones that have the opportunity to vote on it every year. So that's why I added that language as to sort of serve that purpose.
Can it say subject to board appropriation and an annual review?
Yes.
Or audit.
Or audit.
Review.
I wrote annual audit or review.
Give me 1 second.
See, it's that English teacher who'll pick this up. He'll clean it up.
That's why I have my highlighters.
I know.
Okay. Would you like me to read back what I have?
You go, boy.
Yes, please.
All right. A resolution declaring support for books for children aged 0 to 5 living in the Cincinnati Public School District boundaries. That's the first one. Aged 0 to 5 is the only change. I scratched in Cincinnati Public Schools in the first whereas. In the second whereas, in the third line down, about 5 words in, parents at targeted medical practices. The next whereas, at the beginning, a little caret. Current data in the Cincinnati area shows children, et cetera. And then that would apply to the next one as well, which is the same caveat. The next whereas there wasn't anything, the one below that reads, parents with children enrolling in kindergarten at CPS and other students who are not enrolling in kindergarten at CPS can't be, et cetera. Scrapped the next whereas. Again, for me, at the end of the day, and I think I've made this clear, this third grade reading, the kindergarten readiness has always been the deal. So I'm fine with that. We can use it for the marketing, but I'm not married to that piece of it. The next one, now here's some of the bigger changes. Now therefore be it resolved, well, I guess not too big. In the first, therefore be it resolved, in the second line, mission of Reach Out and Read, Dolly Parton Imagination Library Program, and believes that it serves proper public purpose. In the last sentence, both of which help prepare these children, instead of potential CPS, I added my own further, be it resolved, that I heard from some members that reads, now further, therefore, further be resolved, the Cincinnati Public School District will rely on the expertise of partners at CCHMC to help with the administration and look at the possible of expansion to other partnerships. So rely on the expertise of our partners at Children's to administer with us and look at the possible of expansion, which would speak to that preschool promise piece if they were to want to help with it. Because I heard that in your first.
They'll probably be spending the money that they're getting from preschool promise. But yes, I think that's a great whereas to add where you are looking to additional partnerships or since this is such a vital interest, that they're looking to the future or developing a partnership or whatever, and that Children's is in charge of administering this.
And I think just having the piece in there about the additional partnerships, and they're already there, of course, and that's really what got us here, so just I sort of called that out. And then lastly, in the last, be it further resolved, the Cincinnati City School District Board of Education approves, subject to board appropriation and annual review, financial support annually in its budget for books and administration of ROR DPL, and actually, the administration for the next few years is covered by Children, so as per the one document I gave you. And that's it. There were no other changes I had. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. There was one big one that I added. Thank you. In the first, therefore be it resolved, the Cincinnati City School District Board of Education, et cetera, skip down, believes it serves proper public purpose by providing children living at 100% of poverty that reside in the district's boundaries. That piece of it wasn't really called out. So I just added that. It could really probably go anywhere, but that's where I put it because I thought it sounded better.
Yes, I'm glad you added that. I'm still just a little shaky on the annual audit review piece. Can you just read that back as it was written?
Board of Ed approves, comma, subject to board appropriation and annual review, comma, financial support annually in its budget, et cetera.
For books and the administration? So we're paying for Children's to administer it too, right?
Well, they have agreed to do it as, again, back to the sheet here, they have agreed to do it for the next 3 years. Well, the rest of this year and the next 2 school years.
Question. So I have a question. So what happens after that 3 years? What for long-term sustainability? What's the plan?
Well, there's the possibility to say, hey, look how great this is going. I know Michael Fisher has said that he really wants to actually evaluate this even more intensely. So since it's subject to board appropriation and annual review, if 3 years down the line everyone says this isn't working at all, what a bad idea, or this is working but we don't want to take on the cost, we can say, or this isn't working at Children's, we want to keep doing it, what do y'all think about this for, $40-some thousand cost ongoing, could we get you to sign on ongoing? So I think that last piece that added of the subject to board appropriation and then the new and annual review would open up the conversation to potentially keep partnering. And I think they would, I can't speak for anybody, but I think they might be interested.
Yeah, somewhere the
not if we're not
Children's
doing
administer for at least the first 3 years? You think they're good
Well,
with that?
so
or
this year-
Initially, or whatever?
So this year, as a reminder, was the year, and again, to Ms. Bolton's point, it wasn't ever brought before the board. It's fine. It's happened in the past. It was the superintendent who said, yeah, we'll continue this. We, in that memo or MOU, had agreed to pick up the tab already. So we're already on that borrowed time. So the 3-year piece would be the rest of this year and then the next 2 school years. So that's the piece that they've agreed to cover the administrative costs going forward.
Okay, but if we decide annually or sometime that we're not going to do it, well, obviously they have nothing to administer, that's over.
Well, yeah, I mean, if the board decided not to do it.
If it can be as clear as
hopefully that
possible,
board
because you
wouldn't.
see the MOU piece, at least it's the board seeing all this.
Right. I think that does, I think the subject to board appropriation and annual review, financial support, et cetera. Now, without those 2 things, which is what was here last week, and I asked Ms. Bates, I said, since she had agreed to co-sponsor this with me, if I add those 4 words, subject to board appropriation, I felt that it would help ease some of this. But the annual review, I mean, we're going to review it anyway. I think that's great. Again, Children's wants to see the effectiveness of this. So, and if it's not being effective, then it didn't work. I think it will be effective. It's showing that it is.
Yeah, I would assume it's going to be. So is that tight enough language about annual appropriations? I mean, we appropriate annually. So can it just be annual, help me out, treasurer?
Subject to annual board approval.
Yeah, that's good. Say that, Mrs. Bates.
I didn't hear that.
But what, I said, how about subject to annual board appropriation approval?
That tight? Does that work, Michael?
So we don't have to have a resolution and go through this every year.
Thank you. You go, Bates.
Subject to board appropriation approval and annual review.
Council vote?
We're almost at the end. Okay.
I have it all here, so I can pass. I can read what I've written. So, but that is, I read you word for word what I have here that I can pass on to clean it up.
Okay. So, what we have on the table now is a motion and a second to approve the resolution with the stated amendments. You all with me?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Are we ready for a vote?
Did Ms. Bates, as a seconder, agree to the friendly amendments?
Yes. Okay. Superintendent, please call the roll.
Treasurer.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, Mrs. Bates.
You can call it if you want to.
Go ahead, Sue.
Treasurer.
There you go.
I was actually looking at the presentation, so.
Mrs. Bates.
Aye.
Ms. Bolton.
Aye.
Mrs. Bowers. Mr. Lindy.
Aye.
Mr. Messer.
Aye.
Mr. Roski.
Yes.
President Jones.
No. Nay.
That's good. 6-1 is better than 4-3.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So motion carries. We're going to move on to the superintendent's report.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Could I think probably Mr. Hoyne knows this.
Yes, he does.
About what?
It's good news.
I
City
know.
Council.
It's coming up.
Okay.
If we can get through these next 2 agenda items, it's coming up, I promise.
Okay.
All right. Hang in there. All righty. Superintendent's report.
Okay, I will go as quickly as possible through this so you can get to your next topic. I would like to be able to highlight, I mentioned this evening,
That's right.
That is not the right PowerPoint. I would like to be able to highlight that this week is National Counselors Week. We have school counselors. We have 42 counselors within our district serving our kids. So every day they make, there we go. Our headline is, our students, our employees are extraordinary. I mentioned earlier when we were talking about the growth plan, and we were talking about the scorecard, that our biggest best bet in improving our district is really to center and focused on our employees because they actually work with our kids every single day. This is about equity, access, and opportunity for our kids. This week is National School Counselors Week. We have 42 school counselors within our schools. They are focused on connecting our kids to one of the 3 E's. And so a little bit later on in this month, actually on Monday, Assistant Superintendent Shauna Murphy is going to start a presentation series called Beyond the Tassel, which will be a series to show you all the things that are happening to engage our kids to being accepted into one of the 3 pathways. Our counselors are a major part of this work. So they work with our students on a daily basis, making sure that they're accepted to one of the 3 pathways, because pre-K through 12th grade is all centered around what happens to a young person after they leave our doors. So as I mentioned, we have 42 counselors in our high schools. They are licensed, all of them have master's degrees, and they are focused on career readiness. They do this work in one-to-one situations with our young people, as well as in small groups. We're also very excited that Tanya Ficklin, who is one of our school counselors at Walnut Hills, has been nominated for a College Board Counselor Award, and so we're very excited and happy for her for that nomination. ASME, this week is also celebrating our ASME employees. So we have approximately 1,900 of our employees who are a part of this union. And ASME stands for American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. This includes our food service workers, our custodians, our plant operators, and our paraprofessionals. So this is my oral report in addition to the written report.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the recommendations of the superintendent?
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton?
Aye.
Mrs. Bowers?
Aye.
Mr. Lindy?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Yes.
President Jones?
Yes. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the report of the treasurer?
So
moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Wagner, please call roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton?
Aye.
Mrs. Bowers?
Aye.
Mr. Lindy?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Yes.
President Jones?
Yes, motion carries. Thank you. Report is approved. All righty, so we're at the topic for inquiries and updates. I'm going to ask Mr. Hoying, and we all can take a deep breath. Okay. First of all, you want to give us an update of what happened, what day was it? Tuesday? Tuesday? Yes, was that yesterday?
It was yesterday.
Oh, my God, okay. And then we can update on the status.
So there was a finance committee meeting of the city council yesterday at 9 o'clock, and the finance committee approved moving forward with presenting to full council a deal with Cincinnati Public Schools that would be 33%. Reports are from several friends we have watching the city council proceedings tonight. Their meeting, they started their meeting at 6 o'clock, is that deal passed. It appears there was a second vote, so that a deal was passed 33% for 5 years. That seems to have been approved. Then the solicitor was asked to approach CPS, I think, for a 7-year deal to see if CPS would agree to a 7-year deal at 33%. And that apparently passed 5-4 is what it sounds like.
Wow.
Councilman Landsman, I will say, was I would say instrumental yesterday in moving this deal forward. He apparently voted no, and what I'm hearing is because he opposed, he wanted it to be exactly what CPS proposed, which was 33% for 5 years. So up to you whether you want to have discussion on this 7 years. I don't have the specifics around what they're proposing now, but
Okay.
they appear to have passed the 5-year deal.
So the way it is, we asked for 33% for 5 years, annual audit, and the formation of a annual audit working group.
Right.
What they proposed that passed is 33% 7 years annual audit.
It appears that they passed the 5-year deal, but authorized the solicitor to approach CPS about extending it to 7 years.
Okay.
Is that
Up to
is that
7
consistent?
years. Gotcha. Okay.
Can I add one more thing? There was an
Sure.
important amendment added yesterday during finance. The original text of Mann, Sittenfeld, and Councilman Landsman's proposal would have had, given that that working group annual audit, an annual opportunity to change the percentage to what is a make-whole percentage. And, I think the treasurer and superintendent and board president made very clear that this was not an opportunity for them to reintroduce this discussion about the state funding formula. And so ultimately that proposal was withdrawn. And what was at least passed out of finance was that it would be 33% for 5 years. So I don't believe that changed this evening.
Okay. All right. Questions, comments, Ms. Bolton?
I think that it would be wise to wait till Monday to agree to it.
Yes,
And
well-
most particularly, though, I wouldn't mind if the treasurer and the general counsel would entertain some sort of conversation as to what's the reasoning for the solicitor suggesting 7 years, and if that makes sense, then it makes sense, or if it doesn't. But I thank you for making sure they didn't move that annual thing about redoing the finance, because very frankly, we're not going to know after only 1 year as to whether or not which equation was right or wrong. We might know who's closer, but not necessarily right or wrong. So thank you for
Yes.
your efforts there.
Yes, and I knew, just to make sure people know, I knew we weren't going to make a decision about it tonight, but, which is why we put it under just inquiries and updates. So it is just an update, but welcoming comments and questions about that. Ms. Bates?
I was going to say the same thing, so
Okay.
I pass.
Okay. Did anybody want to add anything to that? Did you, since you've been tuning in?
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Cool. So just moving forward to Monday, what you're asking for, just repeat what you suggested. I think it was a good suggestion.
It might be then an assignment that the
Okay.
general counsel and treasurer at least entertain a conversation with to show we're interested in what the reasoning is, but that we vote on Monday, at least, I would assume, if there's a resolution, it would be by what we were asking for in the first place.
Right. So that will be part of the assignment. We're going to move right into assignments. Let's just move right into assignments. And yours, Ms. Bolton, was to entertain the conversation around the reasoning for the modification for up to 7 years. Okay? And then another assignment for a resolution summarizing the proposal itself, something that we can vote on. Where's the-
administration.
Okay. All right, administration.
If there's changes, there may not be changes. We would vote on the agreement, but we don't have to vote again on something we've already voted on. Have there been changes?
But if they...
Don't we just vote on the agreement?
Yeah, we vote on the agreement if that's what we have, and then we'd have to assign them to have the legal discussion to write up the agreement.
Right, but that's what we would vote on. We don't have to vote on another resolution.
That's fine. I guess I was asking if we needed a resolution to vote if we changed it to up to 7 years. And so, okay, so we've already voted on the package. Is that I'm asking clarification
Right,
about
but if
that.
there's a change on Monday, we could just, say, yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
Add that.
that's
I don't
fine.
think we need a
We don't need a
formal
resolution. All
To
right.
accept it?
Yeah, we can just accept it on the floor.
That's cool.
Okay. Well,
That's fine. Okay.
Less work for the administration.
Any other assignments? Yes, Mr. Lindy?
President Jones, you may have this already, and I want to make sure I'm noting this accurately as an assignment. I'm genuinely not sure. But the parent at the beginning for the Health and Safety Committee about nurses, was that something we were going to look into?
I would like, that's an assignment, I'm sorry, thank you for reminding me. the young lady actually contacted me. She wanted to do a full-fledged presentation tonight. And so I explained to her what the process was, and she is asking for someone to follow up with her. So I suggested the health and safety. Would that not be?
Well, as chair of health and safety, I don't think it's appropriate to take up the issue of one nurse for one school. I mean, there are questions that I would ask the administration first, like do they have a community learning center? Are there possibilities for partnerships? That to me is more appropriate than the very specific assignments.
I agree, and I don't, is this the same lady that called you, Superintendent? And let me just say, she actually asked to talk to the board. That's why I said health and safety. That's why. But I mean, that makes sense to me, so.
I have knowledge of this, but I'm going to be really honest with you. I can't remember how I have knowledge of it. I believe that Susan Bunty and I discussed this, but it was that's something I'd have to go back to ask Susan about. I just don't remember the details of it, so I apologize.
If I recall, I think that within the last 2 years that's been raised, and I know we had to look into how many nurses were where. I think Mr. Morosky brought it to our attention 2 years ago.
It was in student achievement, and where we talked about the school nurses and getting more and we did. We found a way to get more nurses out there, but we had that macro discussion Ms. Bates was referring to that would be appropriate, I think, to have in her committee. So yeah, and I also think, for what it's worth, I think it's appropriate that that issue do reside in health and safety and not student achievement, for the record.
Okay, so she on her request, on her hearing of the public request, she asked for a response. I just want to be able to point her in the right direction, or I can give it to administration and have them follow up on it.
Well, we can have it as an agenda item on health and safety, but more of, an overview of who has, CLCs and what they do, and where this particular school is in the process, because that's where I would think that's where it would fall under, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I agree with that. I do agree also with you, Ms. Bates, that this was a personal concern that she had as well,
Yeah.
so she probably does need some follow-up around it as a personal matter as well.
And also, I mean, it's due to FERPA considerations. I don't know that she wants to come and discuss, a medical IEP and all of that in public session. So this is kind of touchy dealing with an individual.
So I would be happy to look into this further. I just don't remember the details about this situation, and I can talk with Susan about it. But I will also provide for the Health and Safety Committee a listing of schools that have the community learning centers in terms of the health care centers, as well as nurses compared to health aides.
Okay.
So you can see the full scope.
So her contact information is on this sheet.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
The treasurer just did remind me, though, that Susan is increasing the contract for nursing services. But I actually think it's due to their raising their prices. Is it both? Okay. So I'll look into this very specific situation and then bring the data to health and safety.
Okay. Mr. Morosky.
I will assign to myself to sit with Ms. Phyllis Davis on Monday, if Ms. Phyllis Davis is able to translate the language on my resolution that we amended on the floor for the new resolution before the board meeting on Monday.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lindy, was your question answered?
It was, thank you.
Okay, all right. Any other assignments? Ms. Bolton?
I'm going to repeat what I suggested as staff goes through data, if it's at all possible to add to that assignment. I understand the reasoning to start with data, but again, in the interest of building one campus, just intellectually and feelings-wise, it'd be great if our expert could walk through West High as soon as possible, too, to show that we're reacting to what they're doing, and it doesn't look like it's only date or whatever. I mean, I know you're talking about starting, but my assignment would be, if it pleases the board, that our experts also do a walkthrough at West High.
Okay, thank you. Other assignments? Great. Okay. I need a motion to recess into executive session for the purpose of to consider purchase of property for public services and preparations for conducting, reviewing, negotiations, and bargaining sessions with public employees. Okay. Is that a roll call, Treasurer? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton?
Aye.
Mrs. Bowers?
Aye.
Mr. Lindy?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky? Yes. President Jones?
Yes, thank you. Actually, the executive session is in room 1043 for board members. So you want 1043, okay.
Okay, I'm not. 1040.